What's up? Beautiful people. How y'all doing today? Alright, so I'm finishing up. I'm gonna try to finish this today, but it's rough. I break this down into parts. But I was just doing a reaction to one thing, you know. I'm trying to be true to the logical analysis format, but I'm gonna be honest. A lot of what you're seeing is like, you know, people arguing based off false premises. So it's kind of hard to even listen to. And then like, I feel like I have to address whenever they have like a fact check on the screen. So that's slowing it down a lot too. I don't know, man. This is this is rough. This is definitely rough. But hey, you know, we're gonna make it through. I know now that Hotep covered a little of this earlier on his show. He went to some of the later parts, so I know what we got. Some previews of what's to come, and some of it might be fairly entertaining. So that has me more excited for the later parts of the video. So I might be able to get through it. As long if I can laugh, if I can genuinely get a good laugh, that always makes it easier. It's always gonna make it easier. Let's see here. We gotta put the part 2. This part 2. And no, I don't have a show. This is not a show. Okay, this is just a stream. I'm still getting used to this shit. I got actual show ideas, ready for niggas later. Right now, don't nobody know who the fuck I am. So I'm just doing the kind of shit I like to do. I'm working on these logical analysis mostly for me too. Been doing a lot more debate moderation. I'm gonna start probably hosting some debates on this channel at some point. Definitely gonna be trying to do it on the homies channel, the channel I got with the homies. If you look at the channel, you see Nimbosphere. I'm going to I need to do this more often. Drop a link to the Discord server we got and everything. We over like 700 in the server and shit, so it's like we actually could have a bigger following here. Just kind of waiting till we got more content available, kind of more consistent with it before we start promoting it too much. But no, we putting in work over here. We trying to put in more work over here. So it might look small right now, but there's a lot more to come. You stick with us, keep tuning in. That definitely helped me stay more consistent, because the only reason I even really started doing this, because I'm like, I would rather not just be talking to myself off camera. If I'm gonna talk to myself anyway, I'd rather just talk to myself on camera while I'm doing something. At least this is more productive. I talk to myself, all the fucking time. It's just I don't always be on camera when I do that shit. At least this way I can kind of actually have some shit going for me while I'm doing that. Let's see. I'm gonna pop this in there real quick. Spread the show with your friends. Oh yeah, it's not a show. Share the stream with your friends. Yada yada blah blah. That whole spiel. Sorry, I can't get too into that. So we just gonna move on. All right. Cut the music off. Get that off. That's one of the reasons I can't really use the other platforms. They don't like when I play music, and I like to play music. Especially when I'm like loading in the stream and shit. And when I leave, I like to have a little tune to play for everybody, like a recession, you know what I'm saying? A reception. So we're on part 2 of this logical analysis. So we'll get into it. The prompt here is: no career will give women as much joy and fulfillment as raising children. Now, if I recall, the last girl that was up here basically ended up making Candace's argument at the end, or agreeing to her argument. She was like, people are going to find relationships and other people more fulfilling than, than a job, which is like fact check true. So that was a fail. They voted her ass out. I'm glad they did. She was getting on my nerves. I don't know who this lady is with the fupa, but, let's see what she got. Let's see what she got.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. So your claim is that women will be happier at home. I think you're conflating, though, happiness with importance, because I get what you're saying, where a woman can write a book and have kids, but the kids are always gonna make her happier. But I think it just means that kids are always gonna be.
All right, so I'm sorry, I got to. This is why I said I don't even know if we can get through this that fast. She already got the prompt wrong. She didn't say women would be happier at home. That's not what she said. The prompt is: no career will give you as much joy and fulfillment as raising children. That doesn't mean you necessarily have to be at home. Now, you can raise your kids and still have a career, but at the end of the day, what she's saying is you're not going to get the same joy and fulfillment from that career as you will raising your children. So we already got, basically a straw man here. And even if she was referring to the first prompt, that was about feminism making women more unhappy, if I remember correctly. So there was no mention of like happiness here. Like, we're not talking about happiness. And even if we are talking about happiness, you're not talking about happiness that in any way that's referring to any of the prompts or anything. So she basically off topic here. She got the entire prompt wrong. So she's not even arguing with Candace for real. Maybe Candace will point that out. I don't know.
More important, not necessarily make you happier. But also piggybacking on Naima, we don't live in an economy where people typically can have a one-income household,
Right.
whether it be the mom or dad that stays home. And so I think, and you keep bringing up the 1950s, which
Because it's right before the fact.
I just don't know if that's the period of time that you want to go back to.
No, I'm just going back to the
Because
first wave of
you
feminism.
want to undo progress that's been done. So I'm curious as to what decade you'd be comfortable living in, especially as a Black woman.
Okay, so we're gonna park aside.
Oh my
the
God.
race
Oh,
politics, 'cause I wanna
so
focus on.
Okay,
hey,
then as a
yo,
woman, what period of time do you want?
I'm not gonna lie, man. Just I hate when white people do that, bro. I'd be like, oh, especially as a Black woman. Like, all right, so like I'm supposed to have like some kind of different opinion on this because I'm Black. Like, come on, bro. Like, this is not. Especially if we're doing a logical analysis, like it's completely unrelated to the topic at hand. Doesn't like, and she's already off topic, like I said. So
do you want to go back to?
Just as a woman, I think that it was probably a better environment for women when we understood that raising our children was fulfilling.
But some
when we were
women
at
still
home.
do understand that.
Right.
A lot of women,
and I'm
still
one of
understand
them.
that. And I'm here advocating for you
Okay.
to be able to live the life that you want, and for other women to be able to live the lives they want.
Do you have children?
No.
Okay. You have a career, I presume?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you work? What do you work in?
I do hair.
Okay. Wonderful. So I have both children and a career, as somebody pointed out. And so the fact that I'm saying that you will be infinitely more fulfilled at the end of the day by raising your children than you will be if you come home and you say, wow, I really crushed it dyeing somebody's hair today. What is it exactly that makes you angry about hearing that? Like, that's what I'm actually
Nothing makes me
trying to
angry.
get. I'm trying to get to the implicit
That's
revolution.
the thing, is that no one
when
is
someone
angry.
mentions children.
No, see, no one's angry when you mention children. I get angry, I guess, when you mention that someone
All right.
should have a children, or you're trying to impose a lifestyle onto people that you want to live, which I think is kind of funny because as someone who's anti-feminist,
I don't. This is the problem with this. Like, we're just like we're straw manning. We're just completely fucking up everybody's arguments here. It's just she never said any of that. She's not imposing anything, or she made a claim. Your job is to refute the claim, not just basically make a bunch of accusations and misrepresentations of her argument. That's not your job here. Your job here is to refute her claim. So you would have to argue that a career can give you as much joy and fulfillment as raising children. That's your job, is to convince us that a career can give you as much joy and fulfillment as raising children. That's your job. That's what a debate is about. That's why they have the prompt here. That's just why they have the claim here for everybody to see, so we can know what you're arguing about. And a lot of retards watching this shit will just look at this and be controlled by their emotion, especially women. They'll just be running off pure emotion, and the way they'll look at this is, oh, she got her. She sounds like she changed something. She's making a good point. No, she's off topic. That's not what we're talking about. This is not how you have a discussion. This is not how you have a discussion, let alone have a debate.
you practice it more than most women do. I mean, every time you get on your podcast, every time you collect a check, you're practicing feminism.
Okay, that's what you think.
No, that's what it is.
Actually,
All right. Again, she's off topic. But here, because this is not about conclusions, this is about argumentation style for the most part. I will point out like false premises and shit that people say that just is factually untrue. But she kind of got it right here. I'm not going to lie. Like, Candace Owens is technically like de facto feminist. Like, the shit she's doing is not quote unquote conservative, especially from her perspective. Of course she'll try to like, get around it. She's gonna do some mental gymnastics and be like, well, I'm a modern day traditional conservative, which is like a fucking oxymoron. But hey, she's still off topic. Even though she's technically correct about the point she just made, she's still off topic.
Because without feminism,
Yeah.
you wouldn't be able to exist.
yeah, people keep saying, I hate when people say that.
But it's
because
just the
it
truth.
just shows that you have.
Technically, she's right. Like, you would not be up here doing this if feminism wasn't a thing. Your grift wouldn't exist, Candace. I'm not gonna lie, your grift would not exist. It wouldn't. So she got you there, but again, she is off topic. This is basically all just like red herring, completely off topic.
Haven't done the research to even understand where the
Or you don't know
feminist
history.
movement, which was discovered. That's what I'm saying about you, because it means that you don't understand that a bunch of government officials in the CIA funded the feminist movement. So for all of your hatred for
All right, so this is we got another fact check here. All right, so she said like CIA people funded this. The fact check. I don't know why. Did I add a T to that? The CIA funded organizations associated with the feminist movement, including the Independent Research Service founded by Gloria Steinem. Now, I didn't necessarily know that. I knew that the feminist movement was pushed by, covert parties. I didn't know it was literally funded by the CIA. That's also not a surprise though. Feminism actually goes a lot deeper than that. Like, because obviously it started before that, it should go back as far as Europe, I think in like the 1800s, like maybe even farther back than that. But yeah, like a lot of these feminist movements actually go back pretty far, like the precursors to a lot of the shit, especially. But yeah, this is fact check true. This is a legitimate fact check, even though like I don't know why they needed to do that. But hey, like I mean, they're supporting Candace here, so I can't be mad at them.
for the
I'm so
patriarchy
confused.
and
So
seeking
my
out
question
men.
is it bad that they
Men
funded it or bad
wanted-
that it just happened?
Men wanted women to go into the workforce.
This is a good question. Although it's a little bit off topic, I think Candace is about to tie it into the topic here, though.
The government, which had a lot of men, it was being.
Are you
run by
talking about
men.
because World War II occurred and we had to
No,
go
I'm
to
talking-
factories, and then when we left the factories, they forced us back into the homes?
That's not what I'm saying at all. So let me tell you what I'm saying.
It's not. See, like what she like. So answer what she asked from my perspective is like it's not a good thing or a bad thing necessarily if we're just like looking at this logically. But it is suspicious. I mean, if you know anything about the CIA, there's definitely something suspicious there if they were funding it, because it's like, why is the CIA funding it? They're like a government intelligence agency. What benefit do they get out of it? That's the real question you got to ask. Not whether it's good or bad. The real question is what are they getting out of it? And then that'll let you know like whether they have nefarious purposes or not. And I mean, if it's a CIA, I mean, chances are it's probably not for the benefit of women necessarily. It's probably more for the benefit of them and whatever their agenda is. So yeah, that could be counteractive or counterproductive to whatever like the women are trying to achieve or their freedom.
Respond to it.
Go for it.
Gloria Steinem is considered to be a feminist icon, right?
Mhm.
Because she led these protests. She also had a bunch of music festivals. She got students involved. It is just a fact that Gloria Steinem was funded by the CIA. Okay, the CIA, being the male-dominated CIA of the 50s and the 60s, funded those movements. So what do you think was the explicit aim? Do you think it was because the government really wanted you to be more free, that they wanted to encourage women to enter
Well,
the
to be honest with you,
workforce?
I couldn't
This is a good question. This is a good question. But again, I do feel like we're off topic here. It's not necessarily Candace's fault, but she is kind of responsible for reining her back in because it's her claim. And if they want to really address her claim, she's got to be the one to really enforce it. Because these people, like, they love to get off into another topic. They would love to just get like some quick clickbait and get they like quick 15 minutes of fame, like a lot of those motherfuckers did with Jordan Peterson. So yeah, you gotta lock in, Candace.
speak on behalf of the government.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And what their intention
Well, I think it's
was
important because you
with
just said that I don't know history, and I think it's pretty important if you're going to sit across from me and say I don't know history, that you
Yeah,
learn a
but-
piece of history and then question as
You keep bringing up men, and I think it's funny because
All right, so like this is the thing. This is like like when women arguing and shit. Like you say, I am watching women argue right now. This is I'm trying to be logical about it though. I'm trying to do the logical analysis so we can really break down what they're saying. But what Candace did was like she just admitted that she wasn't really worried about the prompt at that point. Like she was basically just kind of trying to prove that she knows the history because she just got accused of not knowing history. So she was basically just flexing, which I'm all for flexing your historical knowledge. I do it all the time. I'm not that. I wouldn't even say I'm that historically literate. But if somebody told me I don't know shit about history, I'd probably drop a couple dimes on them real quick too, you know. But that's still off topic in the debate.
We should talk about men more. Like you brought up suicide, they're 4 times more likely to kill themselves.
which is why I
And
don't
while
think-
women, we're twice as more often on
All right, but like this is what I'm saying. Like we're so off topic right now. Like it's just, what is this?
antidepressants, but that's because we go out and do what we need to do to keep coping.
'cause they're not happy.
And we need to focus on men and the patriarchy because it's actually
I just want everybody to know that she just admitted that they cope. They're coping. Like they are coping. She admitted that. All right. I just want everybody to take note. That's what she just said.
oppress them just as much as women now emotionally, right? Because when we're kids, our parents teach us how to cross the street, look both ways so you can get the other side unharmed. When a boy comes across a feeling, and I'm using men and boys here because they're the ones suffering, women are too, but emotionally, when they come across a feeling they haven't felt before, we have to teach them how to get to the other side and cope with it. Otherwise, they stay where they are. And that anger and resentment builds. That's the feeling they become most comfortable with. That's the feeling they go to first in most situations. So we need to stop telling our boys that they don't cry because they do. They just do it alone, and then they become even more alone.
I know, and just so you know, I have this sped up, but that was, terrible. This is this is really bad.
All right, nice to meet you.
Oh my God. All right. I'm gonna have to take a breath because I'm not gonna lie, I hate this bitch. I fucking hate this Jasmine Jafar bitch. My God. Look, man. I can't fucking stand her. She blabber about. I might actually even have to slow it down because I know what she's known for is kind of talking fast and like gish galloping, shotgun argumentation, just kind of throwing a bunch of shit out there that you got to address, like, red herrings, like. So this is gonna be rough. She's about to make this really, really rough. I'll see y'all though. Say something, Engage a bit. You know what I'm saying?
You. Okay, so you say that women are more fulfilled at home with kids than going out into the workforce or getting educated, but that just really doesn't bear out when you look at the stats, when you look at how working mothers are way less likely to be in poverty. Maternal education is the number.
Like I told you, I might have to slow this shit down. I'm gonna have to speed up after her, but like, no, she like motor mouth with this shit. Like she like just Ben Shapiro ass motherfucker. Just like if we gonna break down what she's saying, we might have to slow this down a little bit. So it's
Number one predictor of childhood outcomes, better scores, getting higher incomes in the future, fewer behavioral problems, better mental health. So it's weird to me and college educated women are least.
So the fact check here says maternal education does improve a child's cognitive development and can help with language and motor skills too. Okay, so that sounds like it's supporting Candace's point. A lot of these fact checks do seem like they're supporting Candace's point. I hate to do this, but I'm gonna go back a little bit just to make sure I'm getting all of what she's saying. I'll be with me one sec. All right. Ooh.
Higher incomes in the future, fewer behavioral problems, better mental health. So it's weird to me.
Just like, is what I'm saying. Like, this is why I had to slow it down
when
a
you
little
look at
bit.
the
Like,
stats,
she
when you
just
look at
throws
how
shit out.
working mothers are way less likely to be in poverty. Maternal education is the number one predictor of childhood outcomes, better scores, getting higher incomes in the future, fewer behavioral problems, better mental health. So it's weird to me and college educated women are least likely to get divorced. And
Wait a minute. This is what I'm saying. Like, it actually, so what she's saying actually supports Candace's point. I don't know why she think this like refutes it, but she said no career will give women as much joy and fulfillment as raising children. That doesn't mean that the mother being educated isn't helpful to the child's development. In fact, that kind of contributes more to Candace's point that like whatever you learn, you're probably better off and you'll probably even be more fulfilled using that education to raise your child into a healthy, functioning human being than just going and taking it to some workplace and working for some random person that doesn't give a fuck about you. Like, she's basically supporting Candace's argument here. So, I mean, this is like, I'm not even sure if there's necessarily a fallacy at play here. It's just like this is not really addressing the point. I guess you could say it's a red herring. And a bit of a false premise. But yeah, this is off.
And they're the only women, the top 10% of women are the only women whose marriage rates are going up. So they're getting married, they're staying married, and their kids are doing better. When you look at stay-at-home mothers, you see that they're more likely to report being depressed, they're more likely to report having
Yeah, I'm gonna have to just say these are just consecutive non sequiturs, I think. Like this doesn't address whether or not women are more fulfilled raising their children. If anything, it supports that argument.
anxiety and anger and all these types of things. So how can you say that? Seems like a woman, if you want to get married and have kids, you should go to college and have a career.
So it sounds to me like we are looking at totally different statistics because everything that you said, I've actually read the exact opposite.
I'm glad we're on a fact check show with you.
Okay, so she's refuting like all of her statistics. I don't know why she's not going to address that this doesn't really have anything to do with joy and fulfillment coming from raising children, but you know, whatever. Of course, you know, if this was, I don't know if this was a tactic or if this is why I'm pretty sure, as far as I'm concerned, I don't care if she's a lawyer or not, this Jasmine Jafar bitch is dumb. So I really don't think she knows it. But because she's a lawyer, I'll give her the benefit of the doubt. This could be an argumentation tactic to get her to just be arguing on a completely different point. And basically, Candace just took the bait. Because this is not about the prompt. This is not about joy and fulfillment of raising children. Right now, they're arguing about educated mothers being the more successful mothers or whatever. Or you know, childhood outcomes being more likely with an educated mother. Which doesn't actually have anything to do with joy and fulfillment, like in you know, raising your kids versus being in the workplace. Like I don't know how people engage in debates like this and don't catch stuff like this. Like if I was Candace, I would have immediately pointed out like this has nothing to do with the claim. This is not what we're talking about here right now. And you're going to have to like tie it in if we're going to even bother to talk about it. But now she's basically got you going down on a completely different tangent.
Right, exactly.
Oh, it's so exciting.
That's going to be amazing. Okay, because I know, like I said, I think what we're talking
And now we're just being performative.
about is that there was this widespread report on female happiness, and I know that it was formally debunked, and it was
That's not what I'm talking about. Pew Research,
Right,
University of
okay.
California. In fact, working mothers today
Candace, why did you take the bait? Why are you arguing about this right now? This is not what the fucking debate is about.
spend more time with their children than women did in the 1960s that were at home.
Okay, well, women that are at home are obviously spending more time with their children than the people who are at work.
And their
today.
children are not faring off any better, and they're faring off worse.
How are you measuring their children faring off worse?
How likely they are to higher incomes.
The debate is not about how the children fare off. That's a whole different topic. You're welcome to argue that if you want to, but that is not what the topic is. The topic is about women's joy and fulfillment in raising those children. Now, if you want to argue that the outcome of the children might determine whether or not the woman is, you know, fulfilled or has joy or not, then sure, we can, like, you could tie it in. But you're not arguing about that right now. Right now, you're arguing about the outcomes of the children with educated moms with careers versus the other. And you're not actually talking about whether those moms are joyful and fulfilled, whether or not they have a career or not. Because even if what you're saying is true, it could still be true that those mothers who have careers and are educated versus the mothers who don't have careers or aren't educated are all still more fulfilled raising their children. Because that's the fucking topic.
Better scores, fewer health problems, fewer behavioral issues, and better mental.
So the just to get back to the claim that I'm making here is that it is obvious that women who have children are going to be more fulfilled.
How is
right?
it obvious? Because you said that?
No, it's not obvious because I said so. It's because when you look at all the statistics in terms of women who are choosing not to have families,
Like, look, she's good at being performative, I guess.
they are, as the person who just sat here before you mentioned, they are suffering from more depression. They're suffering from more anxiety.
No,
And
that's not true.
okay, it is true. It is actually true that women.
Yeah, you can't just say like counter evidence. like here's the fact check. Recent data on this topic is scarce. You don't really need data on it. But like, what was it? The lady two people ago, the bitch we finished off with yesterday, before the white lady today. She literally agreed to Candace's point because it is obvious. She admitted it was obvious that, yeah, well, obviously people are going to value relationships with people and people over to just like some random career. Like, sure, your career can be fulfilling, and it's more likely for a man to find that more fulfilling because men aren't as social as women. They're not like so reliant on a connection and a relationship with other people as women are. Like, women are different. Men can like be a lot more fulfilled from their career, but a lot of that fulfillment still comes from the purpose that it serves, which is like taking care of their family, you know, being able to put food on the table, you know, that's fulfillment. And the reason that the job is fulfilling is because it allows them to be able to do that. Whereas women, even if they're able to do that and they get some level of fulfillment from it, at the end of the day, the fulfillment is coming from the family. It's coming from the relationship. So you can't really argue that. Like, that's just human nature. We're social animals. Again, anyway, the fact check here. Recent data on this topic is scarce. But CDC data, oh yeah, we love the CDC data. CDC data shows that from 2015 to 2018, women were more than twice as likely to take antidepressants than men. And antidepressant use was more common among those with college degrees. Oh. Now, having a college degree doesn't necessarily mean you have a career, right? As far as I know, there are a lot of college graduates who can't find a job for whatever they got their degree for. So, just be clear there. But this does seem to support Candace's point that these women with the antidepressants, why would you be taking an antidepressant if you're not depressed? Which is, you know, unhappy and probably unfulfilled, you know, not joyful or fulfilled. You're probably one of those career women. Probably got a lot of shit on your plate. A lot of shit that's bothering you. You know, I mean, you probably don't even have a family. That's the other thing. I mean, because if you're working on a career, chances are you probably don't have a family, so you can't get that joy and fulfillment that you would get from getting a family. And whatever's missing from that, right? Like the fact that that's missing, you're probably not replacing that with whatever career you have. So the career is not going to be a replacement for that. And that's what Candace's claim basically is. So this, again, basically just seems to support Candace's claim.
Women who are choosing their careers over starting families are finding themselves leaning more onto medicines like Xanax, anxiety-inducing medicines, and depression because they suspended that time frame where women
that fact check confirmed that what she was saying is true.
Really should be looking to find a partner and to start a family because they were instead pursuing their careers.
And why are they better off?
It is a dishonest.
Did she just ask why are they better off not taking antidepressants and depressed? Did she really just ask that? I mean, let's forget the fact that this is technically not on topic. Because you start asking like, well, why are they better off not on antidepressants? That's not only is that a retarded question. That's not what the prompt is about, right? It's just joy and fulfillment those are you could say generally objective metrics. You can find a way to measure, you know, joy and fulfillment in some way and try to kind of quantify that data. So if we're talking about women being fulfilled, and we have this statistic over here that lets us know that certain women with degrees who are more likely to have a career are taking antidepressants, and you're asking, why are they better off? Like, or why are the other women better off? I mean, wouldn't it kind of follow that they're probably going to be more fulfilled, have to lean on drugs like antidepressants less? I'm just saying. That was a dumb question.
It's totally a dishonest narrative that men and women want the same things out of life. We don't. We absolutely do not want the same things out of life. In fact, we don't even measure.
What? Hold on, like, because she was correct, but like, who is this? I just need everybody to see this real quick. Can I find this? This was they just like went to this nigga.
More depression, they're suffering from more anxiety. And
That's not true.
Hold on.
Okay, it is true. It is actually true that women who are choosing their careers over starting families are finding themselves leaning more onto medicines like Xanax, anxiety-inducing medicines, and depression because they suspended that time frame where women really should be looking to find a partner and to start a family because they were instead pursuing their careers.
And why are they better off?
It is totally a dishonest narrative that men and women want the same things out of life. We don't. We absolutely do not want the same things out of life. In fact,
we don't want the same things out of life. So men and women don't want the same things out of life. I mean, generally, I guess if we're talking about like a family and kids, then sure. I mean, if that's what you think men and women want out of life, then this reaction makes sense. If you think men and women want a family and kids, then this reaction makes sense. But I don't know. Has he gotten up there yet? I think I might have covered his yesterday. I think he did get up. I think he already had a back and forth with her, and it was really bad. But this reaction does not make sense based on what he thinks. If he thinks it's just like, men and women, are the same as far as, their desire for a career versus their desire for family, I would argue, yes, men and women typically do want families, right? And kids. That's generally what you could say, like one thing that men and women have in common as far as their desires. But they also kind of want that in a different form. Like men tend to have different ideals for what kind of family they want to have than women do, right? So even if they want a family, a lot of the time men probably are going to want more kids than women want, because women are like, worried about the pain of pregnancy and shit like that or whatever. A lot of women, especially with feminism, are going to want a particular type of marriage. They might not even take your name. Like there's shit like that. Like they're completely different desires that men and women have. Like that's not debatable. So the fact that this nigga's face is like looking like this right now, it's just like, what world does this nigga live in? Like, it's like he's a female. Like this nigga's a pussy. Like he's obviously a woman. He must be. If he thinks that men and women want the same thing, it must be because he wants the same shit as women. He probably want to get fucked in the booty. Like, it's insane. These are these fucking male feminists. These fucking male liberals. Disgusting. Niggas need apex.
Don't even measure success the same. Men and women don't even measure success the same.
So,
okay?
but tell me how.
This is true. Men and women do not measure success the same. In fact, the only reason some women measure success the same as men is because of men. Like, they look at, men's standards for things, and you could say that the patriarchy kind of will set the standard for how society measures success, and then a lot of women will try to fit into that same mold as a man, even though society tends to have different measures of success for women, and did up until like the feminist movements. We had completely different standards for what being a successful woman was, and now, I mean, it really hasn't changed. But they've tried to make it change. They have like their own idea of what a successful woman is, and a lot of men will look at that and be like, I mean, all right, cool, but like, there are better, more important, more productive things you could be doing as a woman, like raising kids.
How the women who are working and getting educated, why are they faring off better in all of these?
I am telling you that I do not believe they are faring off better in all of these metrics. I do not.
Yeah, she doesn't agree with your shit. She's also, I mean, because this bitch was trying to make the argument that the kids have better outcomes, but even like Jubilee's fact check basically admitted that these career women, or at least the women with the college degrees that are more likely to be career women, are taking more antidepressants. So, like, you can't say you're happy if you're taking antidepressants. It's like, even whatever happiness you have is fake happiness. Like, it's drug induced. Like, you're not happy, you're sedated.
Not,
You're doing that
I am
because of what?
I am telling you that we are looking at totally opposite statistics. Like, so you're sitting here telling me that the statistics show that women who are working are producing better children. But I'm saying that women that grow up in a two-family home where the mother stays at home are faring off better than the children who are being raised in an environment
Where the
both
women
of
are
parents,
working?
where both of the parents are
why don't
working
you
away
stay
from the
home?
home. I do get to work from home.
No. But
that's
you,
the
I
irony.
mean,
That's
I've
why I
watched your
said
show. You
I'm
talk about all the
actually-
nannies you hire, and it's so hard.
All right, so now we're just back to like, this is almost a genetic fallacy. Like, just because she's not doing it doesn't mean she's not right. So we're veering into that territory, but it's also like, this is also like a fucking red herring. Like, this is not on topic. That doesn't matter. That's not what you're debating about.
I actually
hard to
have
find a
never
good nanny.
talked about all of the nannies I hired.
Yeah,
but
you have.
I spoke about how difficult it was to find a babysitter who knew how to cook a meal, and that's because
Well,
who
you
knew how
don't
to
need
make-
a babysitter. You're already. You could retire right
you have
now.
to let people respond to you when they're
Look, I'm not saying she's wrong. She's making some good points. This is what I think about Candace. Like, she need to fucking be out here raising her kid. Like, you know, shut the fuck up, get off social media, like, and just go raise your fucking kid and be a real conservative woman. Like, you know, you're kind of a fucking contradiction walking, but the points she's making are not relevant to that. She can make those points and be correct. She can be completely correct and not practice anything that she preaches. That's a separate conversation.
for speaking.
You don't want to.
to
retire.
respond to you. When
No,
I
you
speak.
don't want to. You want to be working, which is great.
You're telling me what I want now, and then accusing me of telling you.
Wait,
what
you don't want to work?
Can you?
I mean, look, Candace, just be fucking honest, bro. This is what you want. Like, this is what you want, Candace. Just be honest.
Just let me finish, because you've said so many words that what you're trying.
Candace, you would not be doing it if it was not what you wanted, all right? You telling me you got with a man who can't pay for your bills and support you and your kid if you wasn't out here grifting? You telling me you have to do this and you don't want to do it? Because to be honest, you could probably do another job too. You probably do something else where you ain't got to be out, in the public, arguing with motherfuckers. You could be doing some work from home where you get to be around your kid more and you ain't got to go out and grift or get on camera and grift. But you've chosen not to. So you can't act like this isn't what you want to do, Candace. Again, this is off topic. But she's being disingenuous here. What she said was correct. This is what you want. You want to do this, Candace.
Trying to do here, like your argument style, is I'm going to say so much and not let her get a word in and then walk away and feel like I've won. We're not having a conversation.
She's kind of got her pegged there. Like that is typically what this bitch does, as far as I've seen, and that's one of the reasons I told you I fucking hate this bitch. Look, normally I'm like I don't hate people, I hate actions or whatever. It's ghosting July. I hate this bitch. Cannot stand this bitch.
Conversation because you've not letting me respond to either one of your points. Okay, what I am saying to you, first to answer.
And she loves to fucking yap.
What you just said, which was a lie. What I spoke to you about on the weekends is that it's been increasingly difficult to find a 25-year-old who even knows how to make boxed macaroni and cheese, right? And that's crazy. That is in large part due.
I ain't gonna lie, that's wild. 25-year-old who doesn't know how to make macaroni and cheese. I ain't gonna act like I really know how to make macaroni and cheese, but I'm pretty sure it's just as simple as boiling some pasta, right? You just boil some pasta and then when it's done, you put the cheese on it and shit, and you're pretty much done, right? Pretty sure you put the cheese on. You just put the cheese on after you're done boiling the pasta. I think it's simple as. I don't even think it's complicated. I typically eat rice, so I don't really fuck with the pasta too much. But I know how to cook pasta.
Due to feminism, women don't even focus. Women don't even focus. Like there's this idea that women shouldn't be cooking. Like there's something fundamentally wrong with women even learning how to cook.
Are you
know what I
spending
mean?
as much time with your children as you possibly can? Because that's the way to get the most fulfillment.
No.
No, they're not even. This is just a cat fight at this point. They're not even debating nothing about the topic. She let her pull her into debate. They ain't even talking about joy and fulfillment of raising children at all at this point. Let's see if we're gonna move on to another prompt after this.
Oh, and that's what I'm trying to say. I'm speaking to you
Then
as
stop.
Okay, could you please let somebody get in?
I
a
did.
word
I let you
edgewise? You're
finish.
not.
I
You
did.
actually have not let.
You did not let her finish. You interrupted her mad times. Bro, I told you this bitch let a yap, bro. She can't just let Candace finish what she's saying, bro. And then she tried. I let you. No, you didn't. No, you did not. She made one pause and you just jumped your ass in.
Let anybody finish. And like I said,
absolutely have.
it's no one benefits when you're just speaking over me and not allowing me to respond. All you're proving is that you have an attitude and you believe
All right, let's not do the meta. Like, get on. You could have finished your point.
in feminism, but you're not. See, that's what I'm saying. You just have an attitude, and it's not. It's not
Trying
cute.
to.
All right, yeah. I mean, all right, then just just refuse to engage at this point. Then don't talk about the fucking meta.
It's
I'd
performative.
love if
I'm
you
actually.
address my point. I will be quiet if you address my point.
Does anybody actually feel here that I am being allowed to address any of her?
Bitch, do what Jordan Peterson did and say, I'm done. Like, just like when Jordan Peterson was getting tired of these motherfuckers, he was like, look, all right, I'm done. I'm done talking to you, buddy. Like, just do that. Like, but like women, this is a cat fight now. This is how women like get when they, get worked up in arguments. Like, this is just what happens.
Her point when she just
Yes,
keeps running
yes.
over me. Like, I'm literally trying to answer
Everybody
your
sit down.
first point of you saying that I don't stay at home.
Yeah,
Fair
that was
point.
really weird.
Fair point. Obviously, I get that you're all anti-Candace and pro-feminist, but also it's not productive if you're not actually.
Okay, address the
responding.
point. You spend more time saying that I'm not addressing, that you don't have a chance to talk. I mean, the whole time you.
She's right, but she doesn't have to engage with anything you're saying because it's not on topic. This is why I don't know why she's even responding. Like, God, Jesus, women, man, calm down. Just calm down and learn when to shut the fuck up. This is the problem. Like, this is why you can say, like, I can't even really say Candace is conservative because she don't even know when to shut the fuck up when she's talking to women.
You could have addressed the point.
Okay.
You could have talked.
I
So go for it.
just want you to know that you're not coming
Y'all
across
know
as
when to
somebody
shut
who
the
wants
fuck
to
up.
actually have a conversation. So to
Okay.
get back to the claim, because I don't even know where you're at. You're now talking. You're saying that I said stuff in my
I'll
podcast.
go wherever you.
Oh, now we want to get back to the claim, Candace. Now we want to get back to the claim. Y'all ain't been talking about the claim the whole fucking time. This is why I hate this bitch. And you fell right into her fucking trap. And then now you want to complain about it. Come on now.
You want
But
to
I
go.
never said.
I'll go wherever
So do you want to
go.
start with me working at home? Because I work at home. You just said something about me working
You
at home.
travel all around the world.
Okay,
You do speeches, and I love that. I love how ambitious you are. That's
Yes.
a really
Can they vote this bitch off already? It look like it's coming, but it can't come soon enough. Pause.
really great trait. And if you were truly said that, you would be more fulfilled. Now, one thing you do find is women, they don't want to stay at home when you pull them. They just want flexible working hours and flexible working conditions like you have. And I think we should all advocate for that. It's not one or the other. But when you sit here and you go, you'll be more fulfilled doing this and spend all your time doing
Yes.
that, we would love for you to leave the public eye and go focus on what makes you fulfilled.
Yeah, fact check true. I do agree with that point. But she gets no points for that. She was off topic the entire time. This was a fail for both of them. Candace ain't looking good right now. Not looking good right now. She did all right with the rest of them, but the fact that she couldn't get her back on topic at all this is sad. It's like she forgot her claim.
Okay.
Hey, before we go any further, we want to take a moment to say thanks so much to Straight Arrow News for powering the fact checks in this video. Straight Arrow News is on a mission to raise the bar on journalism in a time of media bias and mistrust. Straight Arrow News helps you quickly find trusted information you need to understand the news, allowing you to dive deep into the topics that matter to you and the world around you. Their work is trying to break the bias bubble, helping you understand how every side of the political spectrum is reporting on a story, so you
We live under a matriarchy, not a patriarchy.
All right, so we live under a matriarchy, not a patriarchy. And this looks like the dyke bitch. Oh shit, I might get taken down for that. Whatever. This is like the queen maker bitch.
Hey, hello.
Nice to meet you.
It's a pleasure to meet
This
you.
is
I'm
the-
Prince
all
Ella,
right.
Queen Maker.
I love that.
So you say we live in a matriarchy.
Right.
Can you give me the definition of patriarchy?
Yes. Well, the patriarchy is
All right, so before Candace gives a definition of a patriarchy, I'm pretty sure that word comes. I can't remember what particular culture it comes from, but it means like the etymology of it is like of the father. So basically, like men control everything, or it's highly driven by males, which is generally just what reality is. And my personal opinion here is I actually would technically have to disagree with this prompt. You could say we live in a pseudo matriarchy, but I think it's hard to argue that the people driving everything behind the scenes aren't still men. But she's technically correct in the sense that, like, yeah, we have this kind of pseudo matriarchy where there are like whatever men are running the society and setting the standards are being heavily influenced by women, and it makes it seem like de facto that women are essentially running the show and that we're relying on like women to rule us. And even if the men are in positions of power, they're heavily like reliant on whatever the female whim is of the day. It's not really based on what men want. Like most of what we're doing nowadays is based on what women want. I think that's what she's saying. She's technically correct if she's saying that, but I wouldn't say it's not a patriarchy. It's still basically a patriarchy. It's just a very cucked patriarchy. It's probably the way to say it.
Is the idea that the system, our system in America, is being run by men, and that women are having to exist under a system that immediately disadvantages them because men are behind it. And I disagree with that pointedly. I think actually we're living in a society where people are being very much influenced socially and politically by women.
Okay, so the denotative definition of
that's basically what
patriarchy
she's
is
saying.
father rule, and where positions of government are held majorly by men, where women are largely excluded. So 125 House of Representatives are female, and that's only about 25%.
Right.
And only about 28% make up Senate, and 3.3% of Congress up until this date have ever been women. So by denotative definition, we literally live in a patriarchy.
Yes. So I just
All right, so I'm gonna address this when I come back. I'll be right back. Gotta use the bathroom real quick. I'll leave y'all with some tunes, and I'll be right back. All right, and we back. All right, so I guess it doesn't want to close. Weird. All right, so basically, thing she just said was that basically we have more men in positions of power, which I technically already addressed. We have more men in positions of power. So she said, you know, basically we are in a patriarchy because men are in all the positions of power. And what I have to say to that is, even if you had a system where you had a queen and women were literally in power, just because they grant positions of power to men, right, does not mean that the system is a patriarchy, right? Like if a woman is literally the highest office in the land and she's running everything and the standard is all based on women, like imagine you live in like, you know, Amazonia, you know, we're in like the island that Wonder Woman lives on. I forget what it's called. the Amazon island, right? Imagine you're on the Amazon island and they have positions of power that are set specifically for men. They appoint men to these positions to be, servants or whatever the hell and do certain things for them that they don't feel like doing. But they're also positions of power. That doesn't mean that it's not a matriarchy. So like the argument that she's making is, I guess you could say it's like an equivocation fallacy. Um that's probably the one I would go with. But yeah, it's not necessarily um a patriarchy just because men are in the positions of power, especially if it's a democracy, right? Because I mean, I guess if you believe that the democracy is working the way that it's supposed to work, um, the people are voting the people into power. So if the women are voting the men into power, and the women have the most voting power, which I'm pretty sure women tend to vote more on average than men. So the majority of the people voting are probably women. And if they're putting the men in these positions of power, it doesn't really make it not a patriarchy. You can say the women are voting for the patriarchy, sure, if you're saying it's a patriarchy. But that doesn't mean that it's not a matriarchy. It doesn't necessarily refute her point. Now, like I said, I don't necessarily agree with her point, but we're just looking at the argumentation here. And I don't think that if we're actually looking at what her point is that, it's a de facto matriarchy, like kind of some kind of pseudo matriarchy where women are really what's driving the political ends. That's not really refuting her point. It's just kind of not addressing it actually. So it's kind of a non sequitur or just a false premise.
Disagree with that. So I think what this gets to, which is actually an important part of the conversation, is that people always think that where there is disparity, there's somehow inequality, and I actually reject that entirely. I think it's just a difference in what we're interested in. I think we're biologically wired, we're interested in different careers, and just because if we looked in the fashion industry and said, oh, well, it's being dominated by women, it wouldn't mean that, okay, well, that means that the fashion industry is a matriarchy and men have no sense. It just means have no ability to communicate how they feel in the fashion industry. I literally think that those numbers show that we're just biologically.
I'm not gonna even say that this is a good argument from Candace's side, using the fashion industry and like it would be about the positions of power and who's like actually running the show. It's not just about representation. So when we're talking about like, patriarchies and matriarchy, we're talking about who's actually controlling things, who has the actual power. Um I don't think Candace's analogy actually addresses that. I think that was all.
Different. So I actually think politically, women have shown that they have a lot more power than men have. And I'm talking about just in terms of political movements. The most recent I can think of is the Me Too movement, right?
That's technically
If
true.
a bunch of women get together and complain about a man and refer to the patriarchy and scream, generally speaking, like,
Although to be fair here, I might agree with Candace's point to some degree. If men are in power and women are just, causing a huge fuss and ultimately still appealing to men to get whatever they want passed, it wouldn't change the fact that the men are the ones making the decisions. It just means that the women are making a fuss so that the men have to do something about it and like basically have to shut them the fuck up. But it wouldn't change the fact that men were in charge. So yeah, this is why I said I don't necessarily agree with her prompt that we live in a matriarchy, because technically it's still a patriarchy. I think it could have been worded better. If you say like pseudo matriarchy, then maybe I could agree to that.
let me know if you agree, the media will celebrate that. If a bunch of men got together
That's why I said it's kind of like on both sides, it's kind of an equivocation fallacy.
and were shrieking and speaking about women, generally speaking, the media would call them all white supremacists and say that we had a misogyny problem and that things were really wrong in society. Women are allowed to be more vocal in general about problems than men are.
Well, let me speak to that. When we're talking about government and media, these the two different things. So under the denotative definition of a patriarchy, by the percentages that are occupied in the government, which is majority male, defines us as a patriarchy. Now, when it comes to for capitalism, for marketing purposes and control, for capital and revenue, that is a totally different conversation. But who's making the laws? I don't think that women are the ones voting to have their reproductive rights taken away, where you have rape, incest, and all of these things excluded to force women to be able to I don't think women in government would largely vote against their own interests because it's majority male, patriarchy.
Okay, I think love that point.
This
Are women allowed to vote?
Oh, of course they are.
That doesn't really address the topic at all.
Who's voting that patriarchy and then, out of curiosity?
No, I totally agree. And you want to know why? Because there are so many women who think like you.
Wait. It's like she's arguing against her own point now. She said, I don't think that the women are the ones voting against their own interests. She asked you, so who's voting in the patriarchy? And you're like, I totally agree. So it's like, okay, either women are voting the people in that are essentially voting against their interests, or they're not. Like, which is it?
You submit to the idea of men ruling everything. And your ideology is spread across a lot of women who also falsely believe to vote against their own interests just to complain about it in the end. You know, earlier you said that, women would be much more happier working.
But didn't she just say that that she doesn't believe that women are the ones voting against their own interests? Didn't she just say that?
At home? But don't you agree that it's human nature to want things that you don't have? Mm-hmm. So during the 1950s, which is something that you constantly bring
What the fuck does that have to do with the prompt?
up. It wasn't until 1994 that it was legally illegal to beat your wife. And so what we're dealing with is people wanting something, and then when they get it,
This is just like a red herring. These are like complete non sequiturs. It's like, I don't even know how you're connecting this to the matriarchy patriarchy argument. I mean, like, I get, like, sure, if it was a patriarchy, it could be either way. If it's a patriarchy, like, it actually doesn't matter. Like, men could just be like, hey, maybe we shouldn't beat women, like, and just decide to take that out of the policy. Or they can say, hey, we should be allowed to beat women, and not do anything about it. But like, I just, like, the thing about it is, we also kind of tend to rule more by like social contract. Like, we kind of have social agreements and standards of things that we kind of just agree on in general. Like, not everything has a law automatically, right? That doesn't mean that society doesn't view it as a bad thing. So, for example, if you were beating your wife back in the day, chances are people wouldn't think that was a good thing, whether or not there was a fucking law against it. Now, if you see it happening very often, and because there's not a law against it, people aren't being convicted of it, and it's becoming the big problem, then you're going to want to put some policy in place to kind of curb people from doing it from a governmental perspective. But there's not any reason to necessarily, if it's not a problem and if it's something that everybody's already agreed on being a bad thing. Like, if it's already a social taboo and people are going to be, punished for it, you could call it like vigilante punishment or whatever. But, back in the day, I mean, like, if you were beating your wife and she had like, a brother, a father, and they found out about it, they probably fucked the guy who was doing it up, whether you were a husband or not, right? Like, if you were unjustifiably beating their sister or daughter, they're going to do something about that. So, like, not everything needs to be enforced at the hand of the government. It doesn't necessarily mean that there is or isn't a patriarchy if it's going on and there's not a law against it. So it doesn't matter when the law pops up. I don't think that actually fucking pertains to the topic at all. Just saying.
they're not happy with it, and then they have to revoke that idea for something else. And so what you're saying is that women vote for these things because they have the same mentality as you.
Okay, so you're acknowledging that women have the freedom to vote.
Yes.
And you're saying that women are still existing mentally, even with the freedom to vote.
Correct.
They are voting men in because we are still victims of...
No, I don't believe in victimhood. I believe in lack of education and lack of knowledge, because one of the things that you also
Do
say...
you think that it could just be that more men are running for positions of office?
No, not necessarily, because remember, the United States, the average reading comprehension of people in the United States is 6th grade. So we're not dealing with educated people. Lack of education is the cause for what we see in the world. And if we educate the women better, because a nation can rise no higher than its woman, and if she reading and comprehending at a 6th grade level and popping out a lot of kids, you know, because...
This is one of the reasons I hate this bitch too. This is one of the reasons. Like, she just like, shut the fuck up. What are you talking about? You all off topic. Talk about education and shit now. This is about whether we live in a matriarchy or a patriarchy. The fuck are you talking about? And she might be right that the majority of adults that can't read are women. And they even pulled the little fact check up here to confirm it. Like, I think it said 2/3 of adults who can't read are women. And I think she was trying to say it's white women. That ain't got nothing to do with whether we live in a matriarchy or a patriarchy. I ain't gonna lie to you. Everybody can choose to learn to read they want to. Like, that's your family's fault. If you can't fucking read, that's your family's fault. That's not the government's fault. That don't have nothing to do with whether men or women run the government or run the society. That is your family's fault. You can't read because that's also your fault. Because once you get to a certain age, it's like you can choose to learn to read. So it's your fault and your family's fault. Y'all just fucked up. If you can't fucking read, that's your fault. To own that.
Brokest people in the world pop out the most
Pick up a
kids.
book,
So
bitch.
if we have those people voting, of course they're going to vote against their interests because they're voting for some utopian society that will never exist.
Okay, so that's why you think Kamala lost.
This ain't even about Kamala.
Because you're talking about women. No, but we
I'm not gonna lie, like, it's kind of a non sequitur from Candace. I mean, she was addressing what she was saying, kind of, with the question, but it's like, I don't know why she don't rein these bitches back in on the topic. She just always fall into their trap about arguing about some shit. This is the thing about watching women argue. It's like, I very rarely see, I think one of the few women I've ever seen that can really like keep a debate on topic is Rachel Wilson. And even she falls for those traps sometimes, but she's the only one I've ever seen that actually like will stick to a topic. Probably because her and her husband both do that shit, so they probably be practicing that shit and everything. But like, yeah, this is bad form. You got to stick to the fucking topic. If your interlocutor, this is how we refer to your debate partner in debate terms. If your interlocutor is going off topic, red herrings, non sequiturs, not addressing your point, your job, especially if you like really want to win the debate, even if it's just optically, like, you got to bring them back on topic. You can't be going and following them down every fucking tangent that they bring up. Like, it's not productive.
we had an opportunity.
Yeah, go ahead.
We had
And the thing is, they might bring you into a territory where they start whooping your ass. Like, because some people do that shit on purpose. They'll take the debate off topic into an area where they have more experience, and then start whipping your ass on a topic that y'all not even supposed to be talking about. But because you didn't bring them back on topic, now you getting your ass whipped, and now you look dumb.
a male running and we had a female running, and we actually showed that Trump increased the amount of women who voted for him, right? So I'm asking you, do you believe that the reason that happened was because women became less educated?
So Trump's female voters went from 41% to 45%. Not bad.
During that time?
They've always been less educated. Did you know that UNESCO says that that 2/3 of the 7.7 million illiterate adults is women?
Yeah, okay, so yeah, I saw a piece of this before. So this is what I was talking about. They brought it up. They said, 2/3 of adults who are unable to read are women. Like I said, that's your family's fault, and that's your fault for not learning how to fucking read. You can learn how to fucking read on your own, and your family should have made sure that you were taught how to read. But if you don't know how to fucking read, that has nothing to do. This is off topic. The education is completely off fucking topic from whether we live in a matriarchy or a patriarchy. There's no way that you could even tie this into the major point. Unless you're going to say, oh, well, it's because of the patriarchy that women need to learn how to read, which is not true. Which is why I said that's the family's fault and the woman herself's fault if she can't fucking read. This has nothing to do with whether we live in a matriarchy or a patriarchy. It's completely off fucking topic.
Illiterate. And we have 6th grade educated people voting. And guess who? Guess the dominant population is white women. And so guess what? Now you have to add a race element into that, which you already.
And then now she adding the race elements and shit about. You see all them flags up in the background. Even they tired of hearing this bitch.
No exists because we as black folks,
They want to get her the fuck out of here.
Voting people in. Okay, so now when we have to go into white supremacy and
And it's like, I think from looking at Candace's face, she knows that this is all off topic and like
now you have to look at the mind of the people who actually have economic
like she probably liked that information. She probably go, damn, it's white people.
success and what they're voting for because classism actually matters as well. So I'm sorry, but a lot of people vote based on their feelings and not based on policy.
Pause, guys.
we already know that. She just said the most obvious shit, and she didn't. None of that supported her point. Like, none of that refuted the claim at all. Like, this is completely unproductive. The only thing we got out of her is like, oh well, majority of people who can't read are women, and because the majority of women in this country are white women, it's majority white women who can't read. All right, cool, fair enough. Fuck does that have to do with the point? Like, that has nothing to do with the claim. That's not what y'all debating about.
Yes.
Sorry, you've been voted out by the majority. Please return to
Thank you for the conversation.
Interesting little tidbit though. White women, pick up a book.
Hi.
Shit.
How are you?
Great to meet you. I'm doing
Very
well.
nice to meet you.
So I view
Probably why you got so many stupid racist ass kids.
this argument as a matter of fact, right? This is a descriptive claim about the culture, reality we live in, and patriarchy being a system in which men hold the predominance of power in both political, economic, and social methods of organization. So S&P 500 companies.
I mean, technically, that's not true. Like, it could just be in one realm. It doesn't have to be in like every particular realm to be a patriarchy. Like, you could have men who, and it's typically in regards to the government too. It doesn't necessarily have to be economics or anything, like whatever. Like, yeah, if you have a more rich men, you're gonna have more of an impact on economics. I'm sure that will impact politics. But if you're living in like, the Amazon state and women are running everything, but you happen to have some very rich and influential men who happen to kind of control the tides, that doesn't make it not a matriarchy. It just means that, hey, maybe the business sector to some degree or some other sectors of the society might be in a de facto patriarchy. But that doesn't mean the entire society as a whole isn't under a matriarchy. Like, they can exist side by side. You could have a matriarchy within a patriarchy, right? You could have the overlapping government, like the federal government over everything else, be a patriarchy. And then you could have like one state within the union that's just completely controlled by women, and that's essentially a matriarchy. Like, they can exist side by side.
90% of CEOs are men. Board members, 70% of CEOs are men. 70% of congressional members are men. Now, you may provide some sort of natural.
Does that mean it's a patriarchy? Just because they occupy the majority of these positions? Like, yeah, like OnlyFans is a perfect example. Yes, it's only the majority of people using OnlyFans are women. Is OnlyFans a matriarchy? I mean, I'm pretty sure the guy that owns OnlyFans is a guy. I'm pretty sure it's not women who own OnlyFans.
Naturalistic argument to why that is, but what you're essentially arguing then is that there's a natural patriarchy, which I think feminists would all disagree with. We think that there's a clear social.
Wait, did he just disagree that there's a natural patriarchy? I mean, that's just kind of fact check true. Like, I mean, it has more to do with like force doctrine. Like, men tend to thank you, Anime fan. Thank you for that subscription. Glad to see some people actually dropping some shit in chat for once. Lay y'all. But yeah, the point of what he said, I don't think that's correct. But let's let him continue.
Pressure as to why this is, and part of the evidence for that is since feminism's arise within our public culture, we've now seen an explosion of women entering these fields, but we have a long way to go. But fundamentally, the claim regarding patriarchy or matriarchy, we are so much closer to where we were just a few decades ago, or a couple generations ago, where women couldn't hold a credit card, than a system where men can't hold a credit card.
Why do they keep bringing this shit up? He's like a second or third person to keep bringing it up. Women couldn't hold a credit card. All right, bro. It has nothing to do with this. I mean, you might be able to say that, but there were reasons why women were allowed to have like credit cards and shit. It was usually because even if they were considered citizens or whatever, they were essentially like dependents, and at the end of the day, somebody else was responsible for their debt. So it actually benefited them to a certain degree, right? Because the debt was on somebody else and not on them. But it's not really relevant when we're talking about patriarchy versus matriarchy. I mean, a matriarchy can make that rule too. They can say like, oh, well, only men are allowed to have credit cards. If we're living on the Amazon island and they're like, oh, men are the only ones who can have credit cards. Oh, why? Because credit is generally a scam. You're gonna end up in debt if you have credit. I mean, that might not be a good thing. If you know how to leverage your debt, then sure. But if not, it's typically gonna be a negative thing, and maybe they want to, spare women from that problem. So they just say like, no, y'all not allowed to have that. That's for these motherfuckers over here.
Form of society.
In fact, I mean, from what if I'm not mistaken, it's kind of similar to what the Jews do. You know, they you know, like I'm pretty sure they don't charge interest on each other. So it's like, I mean, like, hey, you know, is that a good thing or a bad thing? It depends.
Why would you say that we're closer to that? What do you mean by that? Did you just qualify that?
Because in terms of economic power, so for example, household wealth, women own 55 cents to every dollar a man owns.
Who controls household spending though? So
households,
talk about how the money's made in America. How is it being spent?
So it's primarily spent by women, as you've noted, but then the money where the profit.
This fact, is this a show? No, it's not a show.
It's being generated. It's being generated by
Would you
men.
rather be the people that are spending and deciding on what the money's being spent on, or would you rather be the person that's just working to earn that?
Well, CEOs and board members aren't working. They own the shares
Right.
and they're making the profit.
Well, when you own it, profit is making.
You would much in a capitalist system, by definition, you would much rather be making the profit than spending.
I would much rather be spending your money than having to work for your money. Just so we are totally clear here, I would much rather.
Yeah. She's a real woman, at least. Candace, she said she would much rather be spending your money.
Rather spend your money and have to go out and earn.
That's
money.
real.
You're talking about wage
That's probably the realest shit I ever heard Candace say. I'm not gonna lie.
laborers in terms of working, but in terms of
No, I'm talking about spending power.
Wealth.
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah. Well, sure. Okay.
But that matters.
Wait,
If 85 cents of every dollar, how that's being spent, is being determined by women. That's power. We can't say spending power is not power.
Why?
That's true. She's making a good point here. Again, I wouldn't really say this has much to do with the claim at hand, though. You know, whether we live in a matriarchy or a patriarchy. But I mean,
why do you think that is the case? It's because women are often relegated to the role of doing grocery shopping, etc. Because for millennia now, or from millennia up until now, women were unable to enter the workforce and have economic and political
So
freedom.
let's get into the reasons, because you brought up something.
Did he say they were unable to enter the workforce? I'm pretty sure women were able to enter the workforce before. Like, sure, they started to join it more things were available and open to them, but like, it's not like a woman couldn't get a job in the past. Like, why do they act like it was just like fucking complete tyranny for women in the past? Like, it's just, oh my God.
Something that men are the people that are at the top of these companies, these Fortune 500 companies.
Right, and political power.
You're absolutely right. Why is that?
It's primarily because the women haven't broken the ceiling quite yet in terms of meeting men in terms of parity with these sorts of power. But what we've seen with the explosion of feminism is that women have actually begun to enter these companies, have risen into both political and economic positions of power. But that continues to grow year by year, which shows that these social pressures are actually breaking apart as soon as feminism comes into play.
So what I would say is what that shows you is that
values.
women and men have different interests. And I think this gets into what I was saying, that just because you see a disparity does not mean that it's not just a disparity in what our interests are. That's what's being represented. I don't know why there has been this idea that women should want to aspire to work 80 hours a week in order to be on par with men.
Do you think that interests are innate, or do you think
I
that
think interests are innate?
So why is it then that, for example, in the
Again, like, they're not really talking about the topics. It doesn't really have to do with patriarchy versus matriarchy, but like, they are essentially trying to make the argument that because men are overrepresented in certain areas, that it's a patriarchy. And because Candace, which I still think our claim is incorrect, that we live in a matriarchy. Because Candace is making this claim, she basically has to defend the idea that men aren't still basically in charge, which I think is what's got her kind of in a weird area here, because I don't even think she believes that. Like, I think she's just kind of like a quippy thing she's trying to do. If she had said pseudo matriarchy, would have fit better. But now she's kind of caught defending a point that is hard to defend. Yeah, they make it seem like the world was like Saudi Arabia. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's like women who's just holding women down is just completely oppressed. Like, I mean, I still say, bring back the Scold's Bridle. If you know what that is, look up Scold's Bridle. You'll see what that is. That was probably the most oppressive thing we had for women, and it was really just a way of policing shit. But yeah, that's the only thing we need to bring back. But they wasn't throwing motherfuckers off of buildings, executing motherfuckers for the smallest shit. Like, it was not that bad. They be bugging.
1980s, only a quarter of college graduates were women, where now majority of college graduates are women. That shows that because of the way that social pressures have actually changed, women's interests are actually now changing too. A majority, I think, or at least half of law school graduates are now.
I don't know why they dropped that fact check there. Women are graduating from colleges more since the 90s, but I don't know why they dropped that there.
women. It used to be the case, for example, a few hundred years ago, that a lot of primary philosophers like Immanuel Kant, Hegel, didn't even believe women could be reasonable. Now here you are today doing a debate with me.
I mean, look, I'm not the biggest fan of Immanuel Kant, but he might have been on to something. Like, I mean, I'm just saying, like, he might have been on. Can they be? I mean, some of them, most of them, no. I mean, if we're just talking in general here, he might have been on to something.
Where we're using logic and reason to get to these flows, and nobody here would dismiss the claim that you can't be rational or logical.
They're using a type of logic, usually inductive logic, not deductive logic. We are doing a logical analysis here, and to be honest here, you know, there's a lot of inductive logic going on, not a lot of deductive logic going on. So I mean, you can have your own opinion as to which one is more useful and productive, but you know, usually when people talk about being logical and reasonable, they're hinting towards deductive logic, deductive reasoning.
Logical, or be, for example, a great lawyer because you're a woman.
Right. So I totally agree with you that women, but I think they have actually entered into the workforce. I mean, entered into college under this external pressure of feeling that if you don't go to college, you're going to be a failure.
So you admit
and
that
knowing
pressures
that
are a part of the way interests work.
Yes, but we're disagreeing on where the pressure is coming from. Like, I think that now the pressure is that if a woman doesn't enter the force, there's no longer this idea that, okay, we're going to come together as a
Yeah, but Candace, is the pressure coming from men or women?
family, whereas there was this reality that there was this understanding that you would have a partner. People were getting married when they were 18, 19 years old.
Right.
Our grandparents, now it's because of feminism. And I'm saying this is the downside of feminism. Women no longer have that sense. They think that if they have to be pressured to go take out a loan to go to college, and then you have the pressure to get.
Well, they have the same.
I feel like we off topic again. Like, she be letting them pull her into like these like side tangents that don't really address the topic for real.
Pressures as men because women no longer rely on it for an income.
Pause. You've been voted out by the majority. Please
did like our conversation.
Yeah, they should have got that nigga out of here a long time ago.
Hi.
All right, she rocking a nappy look. I mean, all right, you know.
I'm Paris.
Very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. So can I explain to you why I believe we live in a patriarchy?
She actually kind of cute. She got a little chubby face. she got a little chubby face. She cute. You know, she rocking a nappy hair, you know. I always like a girl that can rock her natural nappy hair, you know. You do your thing, girl.
And why I believe we live in a society is preferential to men. So I'm going to use the example of male violence. There's a lot of places I can look. We're going to talk about that. 81%.
God damn, I might have to slow it down. She took she motor mouthing right now. Shit.
Of women have been sexually assaulted. 1 in 6 have been raped. 1 in 4 women are the victims of domestic violence. 98% of perpetrators of rape and sexual assault are men. 95% of
Why she gotta talk? I'm gonna let her keep talking fast because like I don't even really want to hear this shit.
Perpetrators of domestic violence are men. In regards to human trafficking, 70% of human trafficking victims are women. So
This don't got nothing to do with patriarchy or matriarchy. I mean, sure, if you lived in a matriarchy, it might be less likely for women to get assaulted. But like, I mean, look, if you have a democracy in Amazonia, right, and they're letting men walk around, because in the real Amazonia, they don't even let men go there. But if you have a democracy in Amazonia, men are allowed to walk around and do shit and live in a society, even if women rule that shit. Yeah, you probably gonna have a lot of women getting assaulted and shit happening to them, whatever. Like, that's just the thing that happens. Men and women occupy a space together. You're gonna have some weirdos who can't control themselves, mental problems and shit. I mean, like, does that really address whether we live in a matriarchy or a patriarchy, though? Like, none of them are actually addressing the point.
We're seeing a very clear issue of men being violent towards women. And then when we look at the way that our government handles that, 1 out of 3 rapes go reported. And then out of the ones that go reported, 7% end in jail time. So if we're looking at that, and we're looking at
all right, so you're talking about the reporting rates. Like, that has nothing to do with who's in power. Actually, she said, you look at the way our government handles it, like, whether or not people who are getting assaulted are reporting it has nothing to do with how the government is handling it. That has to do with how they're handling it. Are you going to say something or not? Like, that's what the fuck are we talking about? I'm sorry, this is just off topic. Like, it's not even a good point. She don't even know what she's talking about.
the fact that our government doesn't really get that worried about male violence.
Well, so what I would say is,
yeah, whether you had a law or not doesn't mean that people are fucking like following it. Like, doesn't mean that when something happens to somebody that they're actually going to report it.
Going back to biological differences, men are naturally inclined more towards aggression than women are. So I am not shocked by you telling me. Even if you looked at, like I said, male on male crime, you would see that there are more instances of men killing other men than there are.
Yeah, I mean, it also, like, look, Men do that to other men too. Like, you know, has she looked at the prison stats? Like, how many men are assaulting men in prison, essaying men in prison? Like, come on now. It doesn't even have to be women around for niggas to do that shit.
Instances of women killing other women. And that I think actually speaks to our biological differences, which is actually at the root of everything that I believe about feminism being a lie, is because they're trying to program people to believe that men and women are the same. Now, I don't think that pointing to the fact that men are more aggressive than women, which is a point that you and I 1000% agree on, whether or not that manifests in the very wrong way of men harming.
It's just a statistical fact. It's like, okay, what are you trying to say? Like, is there an argument there?
Other men, which I think they do more probably than they are beating women, men on male violence, that manifestation doesn't change the fact that men and women are just biologically hardwired different. I think it's actually proof of that. I don't think it has anything to do with the fact of power dynamics in this country, because to the contrary, if you look at prison rates and talking about how disparities don't mean anything, the majority of overwhelming people that are in prison are male, right? There's a reason for that. So when it manifests in a good way, that male aggression, you know, is the reason why we have men defending us, you know, men that are willing to go to war and die for our nation. So aggression being an aspect of masculinity has nothing to do with the conversation of whether or not feminism is harming women today.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. That
we agree.
Women are biologically different.
And to be fair though, like, y'all not even talking about whether feminism is harming women today. The prompt here is like, if y'all can see it on the screen, like the prompt here says we live under a matriarchy, not a patriarchy. That's the argument here. So that's the positive claim that Candace Owens made, and their job is to prove that no, we in fact live in a patriarchy, which I would actually agree with that argument. So I'm waiting for one of them to actually make a good fucking argument to that point. But nobody's done that. It's just, I wouldn't even say they're throwing out a lot of fallacies here. They are, I mean, there are definitely some fallacies that work here, but most of it's just like false premise. They're just not even making arguments. It's just like non sequiturs, red herrings. They're just not even addressing the topic. They're arguing about like shit that they want to argue about.
Yes, but what I want you to connect it to is, I guess, power. Because what I'm talking about when I say that we're existing under a matriarchy is that I believe that the social pressures politically and socially that are coming, and even within our music, if we talk about Hollywood, it's very much
that
has
power
become
means nothing. Like, just because like who's on the top music charts or whatever are women. Okay, how many women have paid maternity leave?
Okay, that's not
like how are things panning out in family courts? Why are abusive men having access to their children? Like, why are women making less than men? Like, what, I mean, none of that means anything to me.
So that gap, obviously, I'm sure you've recognized the gender gap has been debunked so many times. It's almost foolish to debunk it again.
Well, you could say, yeah, that most women will go into jobs where they're making less, but then it does answer the question of why do we not value women's labor?
That's not valuing women's labor. It's just a reality that if you are going to be a person that aspires to become a brain surgeon, you are going to make more money than a person that...
Nappy head here ain't got it. I'm gonna just be honest. Nappy head here, she not doing a good job. I mean, look, again, Candace is doing a horrible job of keeping them on topic either. I think she didn't forget the claim she made, whatever claim that they're addressing, because she seemed to be stuck on the claim from like a couple ones ago. She like stuck on the first claim about feminism negatively impacting women. But we talking about matriarchy versus patriarchy here. Which one do we live in? That's the topic. She ain't even on topic herself. Like shit. She keep getting bogged down in a tangents. It's not looking good. She started off a little stronger with the other topics, but this one is this is not looking good.
Aspires to do something that's, you know, like in the household.
Can we go back to the real violence question?
Yes.
Why does our country not persecute men then who are rapists?
Well, the majority of people who are in prison are men, so I don't know what you mean that we don't prosecute men that are rapists. We even prosecute people.
Yeah, like what do you mean we don't prosecute them?
I don't know what that has to do with the question of whether or not we're living in a matriarchy or a patriarchy.
Our government is pressure.
And also, I'm pretty sure the difference between prosecuting and convicting are two different things, right? So like when you prosecute somebody, I'm pretty sure that's the process of taking them to court, the prosecution. But the prosecution can fail. Right, because we have, you know, juries and everything, whatever. Like what just happened with Diddy. You can not get convicted of something that you're prosecuted for, right? Like when they ask you on a job application, have you been charged with the crime versus have you been convicted with the crime? It's like just because you've been charged, even just because you've been like put through a trial, doesn't mean that you were convicted. Now, the definition of prosecution might include conviction. But I don't think they necessarily do. And that is still, again, like Candace said, it's kind of beside the point. And I don't think that's true at all. I think that's just a complete false premise. Like the idea that we don't convict people or prosecute people that commit crimes. Like, come on now.
Differential to men.
You're saying that they only like to arrest men when they kill someone, but our government is awarding men for raping women. I don't understand what
they don't care. Rape is effectively legal. You can literally rape a woman with very low likelihood of actually being killed as a man.
Rape is effectively legal.
It's effectively legal. How many men are actually going to jail for
I
rape?
actually agree with you.
What the fuck are we doing here? Wait, did she just say she agree with her? Bro, Candace, no.
But in terms of sex crimes, and I don't know how you're peeling out women, because I would even, and again, this is nothing with the argument today, but I would even say that people.
All right, so she's agreeing that it has nothing to do with the argument. So why are you engaging with it? Oh my God, bro, why? Like, why? Just move on. Just stop talking to her. This is why I said they need to do what Jordan Peterson did more. This is the one thing I liked about what Jordan Peterson did in his. Is he was like, all right, I'm done talking to you. You're not even, like, we're not even debating here. You just trying to get a gotcha. Like, that's what she need to do. I don't know why she can't just be like, all right, I'm done with you. You're not even on topic. Just get the fuck out of my face. That's what I'll be doing.
Are not being prosecuted hard enough when we're dealing with crimes against children, period. Talking about 100%. Sexual crimes not being prosecuted 100%. In this country is a whole other conversation, and you will not get disagreement with me, but I think that it's wrong to say that it's somehow attached to being a woman when you know there's.
But literally, like, oh, whoa. I mean, people are just doing it. They don't care. Like, come on now, bro. Come on, bro.
So many children that are going through the exact same thing. I mean, the light sentences that are tossed out for pedophiles. It's completely ridiculous.
All right, guys, pause.
But I don't think it has anything to do with the conversation that we're having right now. But I agree with.
Nah, okay. Candace made a good point. All right, so that's probably why she wanted to toss that shit in there. She knew it was off topic. She's going to throw that shit in there before they took her off. But she's like, no. She's like, look, hey, they ain't prosecuting these pedos though. She's right. She wanted to toss that in there. I ain't mad at her for that. She was like, you wrong. You right, but you wrong.
It has nothing to do with it, and you're separating it. That's time. I'm going to add 5 more minutes to this claim.
They got her the fuck up out of there. I'm glad they should have done that sooner. We got bonus time. So is this the bonus time? Does she choose or what? Like they decided to extend the amount of time that they talked about this topic. They probably did this shit. Yeah. Some people are exempt from the law, basically. Like I mean, hey, look, you got enough money, you can get off of anything. For real. I mean. I guess unless you Epstein. We still don't know if he killed himself or not. I mean, we know, but we don't know.
Hi, Adam. Nice to meet you.
But yeah, I think they gave him extra time on this topic because none of these niggas could actually make a good argument against her. And I don't even agree with her claim. But if we just looking at argument, like, she's not done that great herself, but they haven't refuted her point. They haven't brought a single good argument to the table that would say that we don't live in a matriarchy. So it's like, as far as I'm concerned, like she's been a lot more convincing than they have been.
Oh, your claim is just to
they all off
topic.
topic.
Matriarchy, right? Yes. So I think even you'd agree that on a global level, that's obviously ridiculous when there are countries where people literally are honor killed for like Instagram posts. But even if we're talking,
are we talking about on the global level? Like this nigga already started off like just like what are you like? This is what I'm saying. These motherfuckers just start off topic. I can barely do like a really strict logical analysis because like they not even really on point. Like they're just completely off point. It's just non sequitur after non sequitur, like just like complete red herrings. Like we're not even on topic anymore. We're talking about something totally different. You reframing the entire thing to be like, oh well, the globe isn't a patriarchy, or the globe isn't a matriarchy. Well, no shit. Like not every place is the same. Like a majority over the globe, like yeah, men are gonna be in charge. Like that's just nature. Like men tend to have the power. Like they can physically assert themselves. Like that's just how it is.
About just the U.S., right? We don't have paid maternity leave. Abortion is illegal in over a dozen different states. And as someone earlier was mentioning, women are overwhelmingly victims of sexual violence and domestic abuse. So that doesn't seem like a very well-designed matriarchy where women are victims or lacking power in so many different realms of society on like a structural level.
I just do not think that women are lacking power on a structural level because they can't, which they can, by the way, abort their children. Is that like one of your components? Is that
there's many states where abortion is illegal? Do you dispute that?
I am going to dispute that having a child is somehow something that restricts women in any capacity. Like you're saying
that. What about the ability to decide what you do with your own body?
I don't believe that murder is something that you should be allowed to decide.
Sure, and murder is illegal.
It's actually what you're doing to somebody else's body. So I'm pro-life. The argument that women will only be free if they're able to kill off their own offspring to me is really extremely off-colored.
Well, I guess if you frame it that way, everyone kind of has to agree with you. But when we're talking about abortion, when 99% take place in the first few weeks, when there's no thalamus, there's no cortex,
he's trying to get some pussy
in the fetus that's developing, saying that has no capacity.
No, he just trying to get some pussy. The only reason he made this argument is because he's trying to get some pussy. Like he on here, he's like, oh yeah, I was on Jubilee. Like I defended women's rights to abortions like live on YouTube. He's just trying to get some pussy. There's no way he really think this is a good argument. Like he just want women to say like, yo, no, I want y'all to have y'all rights. I want y'all to have the right to kill that child after I shoot up the club.
Should have the same rights, same bodily autonomy as a woman. That is an obvious. I mean, you're making my point for me.
You're actually making a point that people who are born with tremendous disabilities should just be killed because of cognitive function.
I don't remember saying that. When did I say that?
The best argument, which again, this is sidetracked. Let's get back on.
Yeah, we are sidetracking. Let's see if she actually gets him back on topic. I have a feeling that she's not going to actually get him back on topic.
Kill people with disabilities.
I'm saying that if you're saying, no, I'm saying that if you're saying that it's cognitive ability and at what
the
stage
ability
you
to be
think.
conscious, and just so we're clear, disabled people are conscious. They're aware.
Okay. So
Now, oh my God. So she really about to do this? Now y'all about to argue about abortion? Y'all supposed to be arguing about matriarchy and patriarchy. Now y'all arguing about abortion. This is crazy. This is insane, bro. How do you keep falling for these traps? It's like she just want to argue.
So
she's
the best
a real
argument
woman.
that it is a life is the fact that you have to kill it. You have to have a procedure to kill it, right? So you have to intervene.
There's living human cells in it, but
you
it's
called
not
it a
conscious.
developing life.
Sure.
If you have to go into your body and murder it, then
I'm not
it's
disputing that
murder.
there's living human cells in a
Again, so we
That's not the
can just
question.
tack that off because we just have a fundamental disagreement on
Sure,
whether or
then
not
we
a
can
child
talk
is a
about
life.
paid maternity leave. People have been talking a lot about whether you have to be a mother, you have to work. A lot of women have to pick one or the other because in many cases, if you want to have a child, first of all, there's a big gap in your resume, so getting a job after that might be super difficult. And then secondly, even in the process of having that child, being pregnant, especially in the third trimester and then raising the child, where the vast majority of the burden typically is on the mother, the workplace and our system of our economy is not tailored to make that easy for them.
I actually totally agree with you, and this gets
Paid
into
maternity leave, you
this.
agree?
I don't know. Actually, I'm agreeing with you that this pressure that you're describing exists for women, and I'm saying that it exists for women because of the feminists that came before who argued for women to enter the workplace. So what you're saying is the solution didn't work, and it actually produced more problems, and now we have more problems, and we need more governance to be able to tackle these problems. So you're
Any
like,
system that's
we need
forcing
government.
women to make certain decisions, I just wouldn't
It's
call
not
that
forcing
feminism
women
to
to
begin
make-
with.
it's not
Women should have the
forcing-
option to choose, do I want to be a stay-at-home mom, do I want to work, do I want to have some mix of both?
Right.
That's the entire point here.
But you are also making an argument that if you are a woman who does run a business and does have employees, that they should be forced to pay them maternity leave.
Sure, yeah.
Okay, so let me
That's like saying taxes are forced. There's certain things the government does to regulate our economy to ensure equality and justice and better outcomes.
Okay,
Yeah.
but just so you know, when you do that, like to a small business
every
owner,
other developed country does.
what you are arguing for is supporting big corporations and taking out the little guys because
This is also like, I think the problem is, I don't know, he started this by like trying to like switch to like a global scale or whatever, and it's like I don't think her claim is actually about that. I'm pretty sure her claim is about that in America or maybe even just like in the West. But I mean, this doesn't really matter. Like whether we live in a matriarchy or a patriarchy, right? Especially if you live in a democratic system where people kind of like decide what they want based on voting. It can be a matriarchy. And you can have women vote for certain policies. I mean, like a lot of women vote against abortion rights because they're the ones who have kids and they view it as killing the child. And they're like, you shouldn't be able to kill your child. Like women can make that decision. We can live in a matriarchy and women can still make the decision that abortions are wrong. So I don't even know why this argument is being made. They can still make the decision, the economically like relevant decision that, hey, maybe maternity leave, should be a choice as far as like what companies want to implement it, because hey, like that is going to be a worker that's not going to be there. And we got to let the companies choose. Like you have women who believe in free market principles. Like that's not exclusive to fucking like feminism or anything. I don't know what they're thinking. Like that it has to be one way or the other, like matriarchy or patriarchy, for somebody to believe in some specific economic values or political values. Like we're talking about the actual structure of the government and the ruling class. Like if the ruling class is women, or women are actually driving the changes in society, or men are, that's what really defines a matriarchy or a patriarchy, not the specific decisions that are made under that system.
I'm arguing for supporting people that want to be mothers and also work at the same time. The mechanism we do that way, that can be subsidies, taxes.
You guys can't just keep this. You can't say that we can't have the economic.
He kind of motor mouthing here. I got it sped up, but like you can tell like when they really motor mouthing because it sounds like super fast.
We can't get down to the economics of what it actually implies, right?
I have an economics degree, and I can tell you if there's a small business that can't afford to pay maternity leave, the government might probably subsidize them and help cover the costs.
Where's the government getting money from? This is
tax revenue. I mean,
right, exactly. So from us,
So they're taking the money from you.
From us, just to be clear, from us. And this is the thing that gets me about all of these debates. The magic solution that everybody has, that we just need to tax the government more.
Every other developed country has paid maternity leave.
But it's not magic as in like the money is coming. The money is coming from you. It's coming from us. So you're sitting here saying,
taxes work.
Yes, we should be raising taxes. Okay, and this is the entire problem is that the government is already taxing homes times two, and people are already struggling with what's being taken out of their taxes.
We're not taxing capital gains properly or corporate profits properly.
You have something that there's a reason that we should be taxing more here, there.
The point is that the reason why families are having
to
bring in more revenue, women be mothers.
What I'm saying is that you are just creating a cyclical argument. You're basically saying that women want to be able to have it all. Women cannot have it all because the government
choice to do what they like.
Okay, but you're saying women should have the choice to have it all. Okay, so you're
saying
that's
a really interesting way of putting like do you have it all right now where you're.
Women want to have it all, but women can't have it all because women decide that they want to vote for things that make it so that they can't have it all, or something like that.
Working and you're also a mother, is that having it all?
I'm saying that it's not possible for women to have it all. It isn't possible.
Okay,
and that's one of
whatever that is what I would want other women to have as well, which is the flexibility to work a job and also raise kids if they like.
No, but that's exactly.
I mean, nobody can have it all. I mean, can we just acknowledge reality here? Nobody can have it all. We have limitations. We are human beings. Like, what's wrong with y'all?
You guys keep arguing that what people want is more flexibility. So you're acknowledging that right now, with feminism on fire, we are agreeing. Women are going into the workforce. Okay. Like I'm just kind of using a hyperbolic expression. Like feminism is everywhere. We are arguing that women need to have more opportunities. Women need to have more rights. They've taken that. Now you have the majority of people that are graduating with college degrees are in fact women. Men are committing suicide at a higher rate than women. We're
Yeah, Candace low-key a contradiction.
looking around the world.
Feminism also would push for like increased
Great,
awareness
fine.
of men's
We
mental
don't
health.
Not high-key.
That's fine. Great. You love feminism. That's great. We already know that. We get it.
Most Americans agree with me, by the way.
Actually,
like women should have
I
paid maternity
think culture
leave. If you go
is
issue by
changing.
issue and by values, they might not associate with the term feminism because people like you have made it toxic. But the actual values that undergird feminism
will move
are
the
extremely
goalpost,
popular.
and then when they begin taxing so that we can account for paid maternity leave for 3 months, which basically means a small business
See, you can do whatever you want when you're an internet grifter.
owner has to not have an employee while having to pay.
You ain't got to worry about maternity leave when you're an internet grifter. Even if you on maternity leave from wherever you whatever you do at work. Like if she was still with the Daily Wire, and they let her go out on maternity leave, she can still be making videos on her own, getting her internet grift money. Like it's like grifters got so much freedom,
Pay months and months and months. Like the person's not there. They're not actually.
Small business doesn't have the revenue to cover paid maternity leave. The government would probably subsidize them to make up the cost.
No, I actually think that the way things were.
Yeah. I mean, like to be honest, if these women want to have it all, they might as well just all become grifters.
Made more sense where
I know to a certain degree they are.
we had an environment where you could afford to take care of children with just one person bringing in income in the house.
Is that possible in the current environment?
You can obviously.
When things are going to get way more expensive with these tariffs as well. Like it's not going to be easy to afford anything in the coming years.
Is it going to happen overnight? No, but I think we need to be realistic about the fact that the first thing didn't work, right? The entire
What is the first
argument,
thing?
the first thing was women entering the workforce is going to make everybody happier and richer. That was the
The idea is that women
was
having the
plan.
choice to enter the workforce is better than them being forced to not do that.
Okay,
That's the argument.
okay, that
Bro, that we're never forced to not do that, bro. When I'm gonna need somebody to give me a citation on when women just weren't allowed to get fucking jobs, bro. I don't think that was ever a thing.
actually is not the argument at all. The argument
Most of them didn't even want to have to go into the workforce, bro. Especially back in the day, because the majority of jobs were extremely labor intensive. They were dirty. Like a lot of men don't even want to do that shit. Why would you choose to do that shit if you don't have to? And you can stay at home and raise your kids and actually do something that you enjoy doing. You get a lot more fulfillment out of, like they were talking about in the last prompt, about it being more joyful and fulfilling to raise your kids.
argument was that women would become, and I'm talking about what the feminists got ahead of, and this
You
is
can
why
debate
women,
like this
women need to
imaginary
like
Twitter
men.
feminist, but like
It's
right now you're talking to me, and
it's
that's not the argument.
I'm not
that I'm
actually debating an imaginary Twitter feminist. I'm speaking to you, and I have no
Right.
idea why you're becoming increasingly more rude when I'm just rebutting your point.
No, no, it's because you sound like the imaginary Twitter feminist, like the Twitter feminist that he thinks he's talking to. Like it's like he is that Twitter feminist. Like no, that my nigga, that's what you sound like. She's not arguing with an imaginary Twitter feminist. You are the Twitter feminist. That's you. You don't even sound like a man for real. You sound like a bitch.
No, you're not responding to my point.
I am responding to your point. I'm saying that you're creating a cyclical argument where you keep saying that the thing that you just did, that you said was going to be enough. What we actually need is for women to just enter the workforce. Oh, women are in the workforce, and actually
not enough. I'm saying we don't have enough
Okay,
because we don't
and
have
I'm
paid
telling you
maternity.
that you're also not going to have enough because you're going to then be complaining when you get that paid maternity leave.
I'm not
because
gonna get maternity leave.
Okay. Well, they are arguing for family paid leave.
Yeah, having a stay-at-home wife is a status symbol. It's like that means like you basically did everything right. Like your wife don't have to work. Cause why would she want to? If she chooses to, like, yeah, she can do something, but she's not gonna really want to just go work for somebody else. She would ideally probably want to have her own shit. And if you got your shit together to that point, you would be able to facilitate whatever she wants to do. Like if you got your own business, she can start helping out with your business or something instead of going to work for some random person that don't know and don't give a fuck about her. Or she could, write books or do something else, whatever actually interests her, doing art, whatever, and you can help her do that because you got your shit together. But like, we know women don't want to just go out and do the same shit that men are doing. Most of the shit that men are doing, women do not want to fucking do, like working on a fucking oil rig. And a lot of that shit like that, they literally can't do. Like they physically are not capable of doing the same shit that men can do. There are certain fields like Navy SEAL and shit that women literally cannot do. You just can't do it. And why would they even want to? Like most of that shit is just like, would women really want to do that? Let's be honest here.
Leave. So
that's even better. Yeah.
Okay. So you might.
Do you think fathers should also be around to help raise children?
I think who's going to work if everybody goes home every time a child is born?
Not everyone's going to have a kid at the same time.
Pause. All right.
Everyone will have a
That was getting heated. She's tired of that nigga.
male partner. Yeah, nice talking to you.
I'm glad they got that
My
nigga the
final
fuck
point is that
out of
feminism
here.
has made things easier for men.
All right, so feminism has made things easier for men. I think I saw like a little piece of one of these like earlier today. Let's see where this goes.
Hi.
Hi,
I'm Jenny.
I'm not gonna lie. Look, the one thing I love about how Jubilee does this is that like it's like a test of thirstiness to see how thirsty you are to fucking get up here and talk. You gotta be thirstier than everybody else to actually get a chance to speak. That's just funny to me.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
You said that feminism is easier for men, or is
It's made things, I think, easier in
things
society
easier
for
for
men.
men.
Yeah. Now men don't have to commit, and they're being offered sex from women for free. So they have to actually effectively do less and be motivated less, because feminism has kind of insisted on this culture of sex and hooking up. And I think that has been a net negative for women.
on good faith? I just want to say I think you're approaching this with like the best interest for women. Like you think that is negative for women and harmful, and I think in some aspects we can agree to that. I do think that there are some aspects of sex work or OnlyFans or whatnot that maybe men are definitely the huge consumers of. But if we are so concerned with women putting that out for free, it's charged, right? They're making money off of it. Then why are we not putting the onus more on men for being the one that is in control of that demand, right? So we can take away the supply or condemn it all we want. But if there
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait. The prompt is feminism has made things easier for men, and I'm assuming what we're talking about is like especially in like the area of sexuality or whatnot. Getting just getting laid and not having to marry you and shit like that or whatever. She's like, well, why aren't we putting more of the blame on men? Are we serious right now? The prompt is that feminism made it easier. That has nothing to do with whether like men are the ones doing the shit. Like, of course, they were doing it before feminism. Has feminism made it easier is the question. What are we? Which is like, this is a prime example of how Andrew does. What about the men though? But what about the men though?
there's no onus on men to be the consumers of said products, then wouldn't you think that would solve the issue?
They're the consumers. Oh, they're the consumers. No shit. Feminism made it easier for the consumer to gain access to the product? That's the question here. No shit, they're the consumer. You gonna blame the consumer when you make it easier for the consumer to engage in the trade. Come on now. Come on now.
That you're bringing up?
Yeah, I actually agree with you on that. And I really get to that. I want to be very clear.
What is there to agree with there? Why are you, all right, so this might just be a debate tactic. She's agreeing so that she can make a point and possibly get her to agree. Like, I think that's what she's doing here.
Say that I'm anti-feminist. This does not mean that I do not also criticize men. I think that's something that people get very wrong.
Okay.
1000% agree. I believe the
anti-feminist, my ass.
problem was seeded by the feminist movement. I think the sex revolution and telling women, I mean, literally we're protesting. They didn't have their shirts on. And this used to be just, your grandparents couldn't even imagine this, like women walking down the street and having their boobs out and their butts out on Instagram. And it created an environment where men then had to work harder for a woman's affection, for a woman to take her clothes off, sex education in the classroom. There's this huge myth that people were just doing it. Like, oh, we might as well teach them because the children are just doing it. Actually, before they introduced sex education, the majority of high school graduates were graduating with their virginity intact. And then within 10 years of sex education, we saw a reversal. So I'm saying feminism actually seeded the problem. And now the problem is back.
All right. So fact check here. What does this fact check say? According to the CDC's, the CDC's Youth Risk Behavior Survey, in 1991, 54% of high schoolers reported having sexual intercourse. That number decreased to 30% by 2021. So that's like a 20-year span there. A 20-year? No, 30-year span, sorry. And it went down. I don't know what point they're trying to make with that. I mean, like, I think that's the opposite of what Candace said. It might be. I can't remember exactly what she said, but I think she said that you saw like an increase. If she said the opposite, I can't remember. I don't really feel like going back, but this point is basically just saying that high schoolers reporting having sex went down.
And it's also bad for men.
I'm not sure if that matters. No, you know what, anime? They're probably right, especially as far as like reporting is going, right? Like, cause like, are they gonna tell you what they're engaging in, right? Like, there's probably a decent amount of them lying, but also like, it probably does track, especially with Gen Z or whatever, because they're they got this whole asexual thing and all this, all these damaged motherfuckers and niggas that can't get pussy and like, so I mean, it probably is the case that they're having less sex, but I don't think it has anything to do with them being sexually educated. I don't think that necessarily has to do with it. Like, you'd have to provide more evidence that it has anything to do with sexual education. Yeah, it could just be that niggas is lames now. Like they more attached to their fucking tablets and shit than they are to actual people around them. Because I remember when I was in school, I was talking to girls all the time. Like I wasn't, and if I was on a device, like if I was on a computer or my phone or something, I was texting girls, messaging girls on like Facebook and shit. Like, you know, like we were talking to girls.
It's harmful for men to be constantly exposed to pornography and soft pornography, and I think it actually
for the end result of you know getting in some pants. You know what I'm saying?
in many ways emasculates men.
Okay.
But I would say they are the main social benefactors of that culture because, well, first and foremost, as we're talking about women who have to kind of pick one or the other or try to manage both, and can we have it all? Like, no, you can't have it all. On a day where I really feel like I gave a little bit more to my career, I aimed because I go, okay, but like now I feel like I didn't give the same amount to my children. And it's a constant push and pull, and it never feels enough. It really doesn't feel enough.
So, like, to a degree, I think that feminism does benefit men. I think that it allows men to be more emotionally intelligent, allows them to understand what that looks like, and also be able to connect with other people, right? But at the same time, there's so much work that feminism has done for women that to say that it benefits men more, I don't think is an accurate statement. For example, Title IX has made it very possible for women to go to college 600% more so, right? And I think that that is a huge benefit that we can credit to the feminist movement. Though I understand your point, though, of trying to say that like sex work is harmful for women and more beneficial for men because they're benefiting from it the most. But at the same time, if you think they're also suffering from it, does that not contradict your point?
Yeah, so I disagree on the fact that, and we do agree that more women are going to college, more women than men are graduating with college degrees.
I'm not gonna lie, I don't know what this chick is even trying to argue. Like, she's addressing a point, kind of, but like I don't understand what she's actually trying to argue.
Despite that, people are saying that we still live under a patriarchy. Women are free to start their own companies. Women are free to pay women whatever they want to pay. Women could hire, and in some cases do hire all women. And so I don't really understand, which wasn't your argument to be fair, the idea that even with all of that freedom, women are still not able to achieve what men are able to achieve. I think college education actually has increased women's stress. And I'm talking about in terms of how expensive it is. And I know you're gonna then say, well, the solution to that is we have to then move the goalpost. And I'm guessing here.
No, I mean,
but like college should be free. Everything should be free. He thinks,
Well, I think
we just need more free stuff, and obviously nothing's free. We're just gonna tax us
if I
until
could interject,
100%.
I just want to say, I think the
I think Candace off topic now, like shit. Is she Asian? Can't tell. I think she Asian. I hate a mid-Asian. Don't you hate a mid-Asian? Like, most of the Asian girls I see are cute. I hate when I see a mid-Asian, like, ugh. I mean, I know she's in the middle of talking right now, but even if she wasn't, like, damn. Yeah, you know, yeah, sex ed scared a decent amount of kids, but then like it also just told a lot of them like, hey, wrap it up. So I'd have to agree that like, yeah, in the 2000s versus the 90s, especially like if you're going like based off like media and trends, like I think a lot more kids were having sex in the 2000s. Now they went from like 1991 to 2021. So I think the problem there is if you were to look at like a chart, I don't have anyone in front of me. I don't really feel like looking it up. But if you were to look at a chart, it would still be counted as a decrease if you put 2021 at the end of your chart. And it's like, even if it like started lower in 1991, went up in the 2000s, and curved down in 2021, you know, in the late 2000s, which is not really late 2000s, but as far as we've gotten in the 2000s, late 2000s, or 2020s, 2010s, if it started to go down, you could still say that it went down from 1991 to 2021. But if we were to look and see like from 1991 to 2001, which actually, let me see if I can find that. I'm actually interested to see if I can find it. I don't normally like search stuff on stream, but let's see. Let's see. The percentage of U.S. high school students who have had sexual intercourse declined from 1991 to 2001, from 54 to 46, and has been stable since that time, 47% in 2013. Although levels of sexual experience for high school students in the United States have not risen during the 1990s. A very high percentage of students continue to be at risk for unintended pregnancy and STDs, including HIV infection. So apparently, it went down about like 8% from 1991 to 2001. Even though I said 1990s versus 2000s, I guess that they were doing it on the 10-year. So I guess it did go down. But again, whether or not you can attribute that, I think you have to attribute the majority of that to technology. I don't think we could attribute the majority of that to sex education. Like, sure, it definitely probably scared some people off. There's also like just the reality of like women seeing other women pregnant in high school and shit. Like, I know when I was in school, like, there was always like a stigma for like, if you were the bitch that got pregnant and had a kid in high school, you know, you might have still had friends and shit or whatever, but a lot of them were like, they kind of began to get like ostracized to a certain degree. Like, it's like, you know, a lot of the girls didn't really want to fuck with them. A lot of the guys was like, you know, be making fun of them and shit. Like, cause it's just weird to, like, damn, you pregnant already? You must be loose, you know, type shit. So I think a lot of people, like, it's not even a sexual education thing. It's just like, I don't want to be that person, so let me fucking close my legs type of shit. I mean, and we need to get back to that shit. We need to have more of that. So you can't really just attribute that to sexual education. Some dude told me he graduated with 5 pregnant Latinas in his graduating class in 2020. I believe it. I mean, it was a couple girls, like, they wasn't pregnant, but throughout my high school career, even middle school, like, there was a girl that got pregnant when I was in middle school. There were like 2 girls, I'm pretty sure, that got pregnant when I was in middle school. One of them was dating like an adult. Like, her boyfriend was like, she was like 13 or some shit. Her boyfriend was like 21. It's fucking weird. It was like, oh, what the hell? Ugh. Like, that's why everybody's looking at. And she wasn't even cute. She was ugly. So I don't know whether it was sexual assault or what, but yeah, middle school is crazy, but that happened. Like, I remember being in middle school, like, what? I was like, we ain't even in high school yet. Like, last year in middle school, but damn. God damn. Close your leg. What is going on here? I'm like, she definitely got taken advantage of, though. I'm not gonna lie. Like, if her boyfriend was really 21, because I'm pretty sure that's what they said, he was an adult, she got taken advantage of. But if that was her quote unquote boyfriend, I mean, like, you know, she definitely shared some responsibility in that. Yeah, that was crazy. That was crazy. I always say that. Like, that's one thing I can always remember. I be telling people, like, no, people like pregnancies in the high school. Like, yeah, I mean, shit, they was doing it in middle school. Like, depending on where you at. Like, and I mean, even though it wasn't everybody else wasn't getting pregnant in middle school, there was a couple incidents that happened in my middle school where, you know, people was getting freaky. Like, they was getting freaky. Nobody was getting pregnant, but some of these motherfuckers was getting freaky. People that were the same get caught, like, making out in the closet and shit. Like, yeah, they was getting busy out here.
Issue that we keep coming back to is that you believe that women would be happiest in a home where they don't have to work. And I think most people in general probably wouldn't want to work anyways. But I think the main issue that we keep avoiding is that this is not an issue created by feminism. This is an issue created by capitalism.
Yeah, so I've heard this argument that it's an issue created.
It's not an issue created by. All right, so she's not wrong. She's not entirely wrong here. It's not. I wouldn't even say it's capitalism. That's just human nature. Like, I mean, there's gonna be a market for, like, the basic human nature. You know, is you know, we want to procreate. You know, and that translates to not even just procreation, because, like, you know, sex is pleasurable. People are gonna want to get off. Men are gonna want to get a nut. Women are gonna want to get off, right? Not as much as men, but it's gonna be a thing. So it's gonna create a market. Like, there's gonna be somebody who can use that to be like, oh, let me make some money off this shit, right? That's just human nature. But the prompt here is about feminism making it easier. Did feminism make it easier? Doesn't matter where the problem started. Did feminism make the problem worse? That's the question here.
Created by capitalism.
But you don't agree? You think feminism is the greater issue than the
I
system
think that now the issue
more money to live?
Well, we have to spend more money to live.
Feminism is exacerbating the problem. Yeah, whatever problem you perceive there to be. Yes.
Right.
I think in large part because feminists got duped by the government. And I think we just keep further enslaving ourselves to the government. I'm not a person who believes in big government. And yet we find that feminists are constantly like, well, we can deal with the college issue. We just need more government. We can deal with the, needing to have more benefits. We just need more government. So it's like, okay, let's just tax every household 100%. And I'm trying to prevent that. And I'm saying that there was a time in America, and what's aspirational for me is I was, raised in part by my grandparents. They were very happy. They were just, I lived in that environment of what that looked like. And I think for many of people who didn't grow up there, feminism has taught us, and I say this as someone who had to take feminism 101 courses when I was in college, that it was like this nightmare and people weren't happy and people were suffering and women were suffering. People were being forced, that there weren't actually these things that just...
Did she just say she took feminism 101 courses in college? They got a feminism 101 course? That's a thing? Why was she taking that class? Wait, hold on. I know she used to be a liberal. Did Candace get a gender studies degree?
just marriages that worked, that the women actually weren't disempowered by being the CEOs of their household.
Well, allowing women to have more choice and freedom and agency to leave.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. If I if I was to go to college, I would definitely pick up feminism 101, You telling all the hoes like, oh yeah, I totally, I'm for women's rights and everything. Meanwhile, I'm behind here like saying the complete opposite online. Like we're talking with my niggas like, man, fuck them bitches.
Sorry, you've been voted out by the majority.
I did enjoy this conversation. Being very respectful.
I was thinking that a lot of your claims are very contradictory.
We got another Asian. Just she ain't ugly, but why her eye look like that?
Saying that we live in a matriarchy, that men benefit from feminism more.
I mean, she got that. That's them real Asian eyes. She got them real Asian eyes. Like, you see that? Them real. She a real zipper head. Might get in trouble for that. Like, look. I kind of like that. She look real chinky.
I would like to understand why. Again, I think that men benefit from feminism more.
Basically, because men don't have to commit to women. Men are still able to do what they're doing, and
at least we ain't got another mid-Asian.
And they are allowed to basically step away from all of the responsibilities of what it really meant to be a man and lead a household. And that's in large part, I think, due to the sexual revolution.
I mean, is it really bad that we don't have to give men the chase? Don't they have gratification from chasing us? Like, it's a hunter versus prey situation to me.
Damn, I swear she got a lazy eye. She either got allergies or she got a lazy eye. It's crazy. You see an Asian with a lazy eye? Like, you already got the squinty eye. But you got the one of the eyes is even squintier and lazy. That's hilarious.
So I feel like a lot of relationships, especially back then, were based on trying to get to home run like very fast. And now that we have the freedom to not commit and not tie ourselves to one man for the rest of our life, I just don't necessarily think that's bad. I just don't think the revolution has.
That might not be a lazy eye though. That look like allergies. That like she was rubbing her eye. I can relate to that. That looked like she was rubbing her eye.
Decrease our value. We're not chewed gum. We're people who value connection and sex.
I'm sorry. I ain't even listening to the arguments. I'm over here. I'm just looking at the Asian girl. Hold on. Let me go back a little bit. I love me an Asian girl.
I feel like a lot of relationships, especially back then, were based on trying to get to home run like very fast. And now that we have the freedom to not commit and not tie ourselves to one man for the rest of our life, I just don't necessarily think that's bad. I just don't think the revolution has decreased our value. We're not chewed gum. We're people who value connection. And sex doesn't always have to have this deep meaning. It is just connection and intimacy between two people who trust each other. And why do we have to deny women that gratification? Like men, you say, are wired to want that. Why not women? Why?
Well.
Yeah, it's a little. I don't mind it though. Like I want my Asian's eyes to look like slits. All right, just straight slits. I don't even want it to look like your eyes is open.
We again, I go back.
I just want them both to look like that.
To just our basic biological differences. There was a really interesting book that was done by a biophysicist. He, I think, recently passed away, named Edward O. Wilson, where he just sort of breaks down the biological arguments. Basically, he looks in the wild to see the behavior of animals. His thesis is just that you basically can never beat your own biology. And then he kind of compares it to what we see here as just humans and our social interactions.
The reason I'm not really addressing their arguments right now is because they're not really on topic. They were kind of on topic, but she was basically asking like, well, why can't women have this gratification or whatever? And it's like, I mean, that's the question is like, is it making it easier for men? And feminism is basically against that. Like as far as most people define feminism, it's like, it's an empowerment of women, and all this other stuff, not being objectified and all that, whatever. And I think the argument that's being made here is that feminism has made it easier for men to objectify them and use them as sex objects and all this other type of stuff. Even if the women are consciously making a choice to do that stuff, it's making it easier for men to do these things that they consider to be negative. I think that that's the argument being made. And I don't think that what she said addresses that at all. I don't think Candace has really pointed that out either.
And things that have been abundantly clear when
Trying
you
to
look at
finish
every
this up tonight
civilization
too,
over time.
so I don't want to interrupt too much.
Whether it's from 400 BC to LA today, what are these habits that you can see that never go away? And people coming together and starting families is one of these things because we are biologically wired to find a family, to settle down, and to have children. And I think when you have women that are going out and they're giving all of the goods up for free,
The goods.
the goods,
Different consequences.
I'm not going to say the goods up for free. Men
Well,
are
we
not.
want the goods for free from men, and that we are very
You can
happy with
certainly
those
do that, and there's
connections. We're not sockeye salmon. We're not made to breed and have families and then die.
you are welcome to do that. I'm just saying that when it comes to
I mean, hold on. I mean, we kind of are. I mean, especially if like, because I don't know if this person is like religious or not. And even if you are to a certain degree, you kind of are, like, but not entirely. But that is, I think, as far as the Bible is concerned, that's like the first order that was ever given to you is like be fruitful and multiply, right? But if you're like an atheist or whatever, it's like, and you believe in if you believe in, I know, yeah, I'm too focused on that. But if you're an atheist and you believe that we evolved, yeah. Scientifically, the biological meaning of life and the main goal is to reproduce. So religion and science have that true to some degree, that it's like, our main driver is procreation. So she's like, you're not meant to live, have families, and die. It's like, no, that's basically what it's like. That's like the bare minimum, but everything else is basically in accordance with that. Like everything else is to further that goal for the most part. Most people aren't just going out here getting careers, making money, and doing all this other shit just to not have a family or whatever. Majority of people are going to do that. That's the goal for most people. She's
time for you to find a partner, you may find yourself in a circumstance where men don't value you as high because men like you spoke to, men like to compete. They like to feel like they've won something.
I'd like to deprive men of that because they don't need to have that. That's actually like
but you did bring up.
Yeah, and that's what you say, that men are essentially predatory, and we have the goods that we can
that shit is hilarious. I mean, it just made you focus more on it too. I'm not gonna lie, me at least. Like
from them.
Oh, I didn't mean the goods in a bad way.
But that's such an objectifying way. The goods, what the grocery goods.
Honestly, I think that
Like,
that's just kind of
we
in
don't have that.
colloquial
I can
songs
fix
today.
it. We can
We
fix it.
apart from how many people we sleep with, how many, like, you also devalue education for women, and I think that's very interesting because you're also a very educated woman, and you.
Although I tend to like my Asians with the little accent. You gotta bring a little bit of the motherland. You gotta have a little bit of the motherland still in you. You gotta talk like this.
In a lot of ways, this is just like an observation. You devalue yourself a lot.
I definitely do not feel like I'm devaluing myself.
Make him a sandwich.
Yeah.
Yes,
Which is the title of my book.
Yes, feed your men and everything. Feed the people that you love, because
brings you
family
joy.
isn't defined just by your partner or your kids. Family is community, and you.
No, she looked like she loved you long time. It probably do, yeah. She fuck around and cuss you out in Chinese. She get mad. It's like, damn, I didn't even know you knew that language.
You care about your community and understanding that. I just don't think you really care about the community that much when you're pushing this rhetoric of devaluing women so much to stay in the kitchen, stay within the homes, and also saying.
She off topic. Yeah, it ain't even worth listening to her. I like looking at her though.
That they're wasting money on college when education is very important. There's a lot of female scientists.
Pause.
There's
You've
so
been
much
voted
that I
out.
would say.
Sorry. You've been voted out.
Hello.
Hi,
There we
how are
go.
you?
Your name?
I'm
Another-
Zelda Stone.
Very nice to meet you. So you're very pretty eyes.
Half Asian, half
So
Asian.
you keep talking about OnlyFans
This is the one that Hotep covered a little bit of earlier.
and Kim Kardashian, and well, I do OnlyFans,
Okay.
and I'm a stripper as well.
So you're in the sex industry.
Well, I'm mainly a recording artist.
Sex worker, mainly a recording art.
but I do that to fund the music.
Okay.
But, you know, you're saying basically that we kind of like devalue ourselves, but
She one of them new Cardi B types. I'm gonna make it out the strip club and make it into music. That's what she trying to do.
at the same time, I'm celibate. I still consider myself a woman of God. And so, you know, not all of us are just out there just, oh, hey, showing the goods, you know, like.
It is a hard choice between the Asians and Latinas. I mean, you know, you can get the best of both worlds if you get you like a Filipino. They technically Asian and Latina. You find you a good looking Filipino, they technically Asian and Latina. And I don't know, if you find somebody like you know, Savannah Hernandez, Sav says, oh yeah, that's my boo. She was she like Japanese and Mexican? Chef's kiss.
We do respect our bodies still. So I don't like that you kind of putting us all in one box.
Yeah.
because of
So
that.
we have to, in order to have debates, we have to make generalizations. Of course, there can be some exceptions to the rule. But what I'm trying to understand is, how can you say that you're not, you know, giving up your body if you are a stripper?
Well, because I said I'm celibate. I still want to get married. I still want to have kids. And for some of us, it's hard for us to have kids. And I've also dealt with sexual abuse since a child, you know, so I wasn't doing any sexual work as a child, you know, and still went through things like that.
Yeah. So I first want to say,
That's why I wanted to like address this earlier. Like I know AJ was asking, like, I don't know, you don't know what the math is on why the people that are sexually abused when they're younger tend to like go on to work in sex work. The way I've seen it is, and I heard some people explain it, is that even the people themselves, actually, the ones that are going to therapy and everything, they think it's kind of like taking control back. Like if you were forced to engage in some kind of sexual behavior or whatever at some point, you were assaulted, they feel like they're kind of taking control back by if they're putting themselves in the industry, because at least they're making a choice to do it. Now, I'm not gonna say the logic is like completely sound there or whatever, you know, you should probably avoid stuff like that. But yeah, they kind of feel like they're taking their power back. That's the way they look at it when they go into sex work after having been abused at some point. Yeah, you would think it would be the opposite, but like it's kind of like a coping mechanism where they're like, you know, well, it's, if you also look at it from like a femme fatale kind of perspective, it's like they're kind of getting back at like men in general, or the types of people that would prey on people, because then they can kind of fleece you and they feel like they're getting some kind of power out of it. Like that's kind of how they reason with it. It's a little backwards for sure, but there is a bit of like, you know, there's a bit of logic there in the way that they're looking at it. It's just kind of flawed.
perfectly sympathetic to everything you're saying, especially if you come from an environment where you've lived through something when you're a kid. It makes it infinitely harder. And it's actually a reason why so many people turn to sex work, because they don't have that structure at home that gives them, I think, other options. But would you agree with me that if you could...
No, a lot of the time they be having other options. They just choose to do that shit. They're like, oh, well, clearly I can do this, so I'm going to do it. I'm going to take some power back. I don't know why, but hey.
Like, that wouldn't
I
have...
went to college for music production.
For music production.
I went to LA recording school.
Okay, so did you decide to be a stripper because of economic restraint or because of freedom?
For freedom. You know, we want the choice to do whatever we want with our bodies.
Okay.
You know, I don't think it matters.
See what I'm saying? Like, the way she justified it is she did it for freedom, but she only really probably feel like that because, like, whatever happened to her, she didn't make the choice for that to happen, so she can make the choice to do this, and she feel like she's kind of grabbed back some level of control, even if it's kind of a flawed logic. There's something going on there.
If you do want to dress how you want to dress, that doesn't mean, oh, you can, you know, sexually abuse or sexually harass.
Do you think that men are being brought into the strip clubs to watch you? Do you think that they're walking away and going, I did that because that woman was empowered to take off her clothes?
No,
Or do you think
yeah.
that they're
I mean,
actually
look.
valuing women.
No, I get
when they
it.
do
I
that?
used to be that hypocrite. You know, I said things that
She on point.
I said I would never do anything like that. You know, like I totally get that. But some people just want to go to the club and have a good time.
Yeah, I think most
So-
people
Yeah, they're
who are making
influenced
those
by
decisions
trauma.
are doing it because they're dealing with addictions themselves. I think you're worth more than taking your clothes off. I think that if you wanted to have a career in music, you wouldn't have to take your clothes off to do that. And I think that it's sad that you've been...
Every story is
Oh,
different.
no, let's be fair now. It's like, even if she wasn't a stripper, usually if you want to make it in music as a woman, unfortunately, you might have to take your clothes off. Like, it's like that's how they market in the music industry. A lot of these women are not going to get a big following if they don't. I understand it's a good thing, but yeah, even if she wasn't a stripper, she'd probably have to take her clothes off in some way to really get popping as a musician. Unfortunately, that's just how, like, sex sells. That's just how they do it.
Every story is different, but I do think that
you know,
we can make a generalization.
I
of
was
people
at that
coming.
point where I was going to college. I was working 3 jobs. I used to be a nurse. So you just don't know the situations. You don't know how life is going to turn out. It's going to be ups and downs. But no, I didn't want to do it. But in my situation and things that I went through, it's something that it just.
But I'm
it
actually
works.
really glad that you said, no, I didn't want to do it, and you were put in a situation where you had to do it, because I think that's really honest. And I think the problem that I find with feminism is that it's a dishonest movement.
All right, guys, pause. It's been voted out by the majority. Thank you.
I'm not judging.
And yeah, like, I mean, besides them, split ends that they was talking about earlier or whatever, like, Candace is looking nice,
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Catherine. Candace.
You brought up a book about that we are going to biology, and that biology is what we should organize society on.
She got them crazy eyes. Like, just the one thing I just noticed immediately, she got them crazy eyes. Yeah, like, you're right. Yeah, even Taylor Swift had to start, showing a little skin. Like, she had the songwriting and everything. She had to show a little skin. Unfortunately, it's just, well, maybe we do live in a patriarchy. Yeah, of course we do.
Beyond based on like what skills men are good at.
I can restate what I said. There is a book, and the argument that's being made is that you can't outthink your biology is the easiest way to say it. So feminism, I would say, is a movement where they're trying to outthink biology, meaning that all we have to do is this, and that, and then magically we're going to be transformed in that desire within us to want to start a family.
Now, this is difficult because, like, they got, like, the claim here. They supposed to be arguing about whether feminism has made things easier for men, but I feel like they're not talking about that. Like, this girl came up and asked a question about, I think, something that they were talking about in a previous discussion, a little side tangent that they had started, but it's not actually on topic. Yeah, it's completely off topic.
It's just going to, like, die, or we're going to be happier doing this thing. And I think the answer to that is no.
Right. I would argue that our biology does not have as much of an effect on the things that we choose with our careers, with our life choices, as you think it does. Our closest ancestors are chimps and bonobos. Bonobos are matriarchal, chimps are patriarchal. So, and our previous societies have run egalitarian for.
All right. So even if, let's just entertain this, even though they're off topic, let's just entertain, like, how logical her argument is here. We are not bonobos and chimps. So this is already I feel like we're already starting from, like, a false premise here.
Millennia. It's not been this inherent desire for men to rule a certain way and women to rule another way. It has been egalitarian. It's been matriarchal. It's been patriarchal because there are things that go into effect, like your situation, your personality, that make you better at doing something than just your biology. I know many quiet, nerdy men that would not be good leaders, and I know many strong women, and vice versa. Like, it does not matter as your testosterone, the hormones you admit, is not going to have as much of an effect as I think you think it does.
It just sounded like affirming the consequent. Kind of begging the question too. It's just like, I don't think biology plays that much of a role, because I don't think biology plays that much of a role. That's, like, basically what she said. It was just kind of a circular argument. Like, she didn't really make much of an argument.
I totally think it does. And so that's why, let's getting back to college, since I'm assuming you support women going to college.
Yeah.
Can you explain why there is, when they can freely choose, why there is such a difference in the majors that women choose versus the majors that men choose when they go to
She got
college?
12
Well, I think
dildos
it's
in
also
her
important to know that
bookshelf.
things are changing, and there's, like, many initiatives to get more
You
women
definitely
into STEM,
do.
to get women into higher paying career fields.
Look at them
And
eyes.
women have been kept out of these fields for so long. It's a slow and steady race to get them there. It's not that women are not choosing them. They're slowly learning that this is okay for them to choose. There's more women in STEM. There's more lawyers. There's more women. Women are making upstrides to those positions. So it's not like they're sedentary and they're staying in these humanities or arts fields.
I don't think you're being honest.
They kind of are. I don't know why she's saying that, because they are. They even have, like, whole STEM programs to get more women into them, and, like, they just can't get the numbers. Like, women don't want to do that type of shit. They're just not interested in that type of shit.
I think, did you go to college?
I mean, I'm in college. I think I know that
women aren't, it's not because they're not pressured. It's because when quite literally they say, what are you interested in? Women flock to certain things. They just do. We do.
Yeah.
We as a whole
Yeah.
do. It tends to
Candace
be,
is right.
and
Yeah,
this is because we are biologically wired. And even when a child is born, when a woman, like a female a child versus a male child, the girls start speaking faster and they speak more words. Just a fact, right? For the rest of their lives. Like, my daughter started speaking, and this is not anecdotal, but this is.
Yeah, no, like, even my niece, like, she started speaking, like, a lot faster. Like, just they that's true.
I'm giving you an anecdotal example of something that is a real fact. So there's just a biological proclivity there that women like communication. And you see that followed all the way.
Yeah, women do like communication, emotional connection, things like that. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
As an example, into college.
I don't know why they try to deny that stuff. Why deny the differences? It's also like y'all superpowers.
are drawn toward these careers that are compassionate, emotional, and communicative, which is why you'll see women flooding journalism. That's why even when you see women that are finding success, they are typically in careers that are communicative and compassionate. Women that will say, I want to do psychology, I want to do children's psychology. And so even at the same time that women are saying that they're running away from their biology, so to speak, they are still exhibiting that they very much believe in these determined biological characteristics that I think are something that's just never going to go away.
Right, but I would also bring up that the way that young girls are given dolls, young boys are put in sports. These things that kids learn at a very early age are very impactful in what children like and pursue in the future. It's not simply that I don't think there's a biological gene that women like fashion and men don't.
So because we give kids toys, that means they're gonna play with them and like them in the future? Come on now. We've all seen like little kids who you can give them some toys and try to get them to play with it. They throw that shit away and go grab what they want to play with. You can't just change what they are automatically inclined to like just by giving them some shit.
Don't. That's why
not how that works.
That's why there's actually at the top of all these fashion houses, a lot of men are in successful positions in fashion. The way in which you teach a children to explore creativity and to play, and what we put women in pink rooms and little girls in pink rooms and boys in blue, and that has an effect.
So, and I'll tell you why I disagree. And I know because I had my children back to back that there's a blur here. So I never had to separate them and say, you play with this, you play with that. They were growing up with their toys. I mean, 1 year apart, my daughter and my son. They just are interested in different things. And this is one of the, I think, lies of feminism. And when you actually have children, there may be some exceptional child, but I am telling you, my boy's first word was car. He's obsessed with trucks. He's obsessed with cars. I did not do that. I don't like having to answer his questions about cars. I don't like having to answer his questions about trucks because my biological proclivities are not designed. I'm just not feeling passionate about engineering.
This is funny. It's like some genuine like honesty I enjoy from Candace. She like, it's even like more pleasant to listen to women when they talking about their kids rather than something else. Like, I like hearing women talk about their kids and experiences with their kids. It's interesting. It's fun, you know?
Wanting to know how everything works. You don't recognize that. And this is, I think, one of the worst harms of feminism, because I was a feminist when I was in college, or I at least thought I agreed with the movement, because you don't have the family yet. So when they make these arguments that you're making, you think that that's real. You think, oh, well, it's just because you're not giving the child the Barbie doll, that they don't love Barbie dolls.
She's right. Like, a lot of these people don't have experience with kids. A lot of the women that will know that this shit isn't true and actually be able to like argue against it would be the women who actually have kids, who've helped raise kids, who actually can see this stuff because they've experienced it firsthand, rather than like going to college and hear all this theoretical bullshit about gender and all these gender studies shit and men and women really aren't that different. No, it's like that's an op. That's an op. That's really just to get you to be like on this this trans feminist shit. Like they want you to believe that men and women aren't different.
And that's not a reality. We are just quite literally different.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. Time is up.
I am going to choose Jenny to have a further conversation with because I thought that
she chose Jenny. Okay. Yeah. I think out of all the people she talked to, this girl was probably, even in the part I did yesterday, you know, the Black Queen that Jordan Peterson ended up picking at the end of his episode to talk to, she was a lot more combative with Candace than she was with Jordan Peterson. So like this girl was actually, she had the most productive conversation, even though I would say she was still off topic. If I remember correctly, like basically none of these motherfuckers have been on topic, you know. I mean, I try to give them the benefit of the doubt, you know. I talk about women and logical, being logical and reasonable, and I mean, like, this is like a prime example of like, you get women in a room and they're arguing against each other, they can't even stay on topic. They start arguing about totally, completely different shit. I see it with a lot of people, but like, is like versus like men, I see a lot more men try to stick to the topic, to bring it back to the actual topic they're talking about. They're a lot more sensitive to that stuff. They get bogged down to like these tangents and stuff and kind of get catty and do the back and forth a lot easier.
That it was a respectful dialogue, and I want people to be able to learn from the differences, and I think she is probably the best equipped.
Yeah, a childless woman arguing with the mother on how children behave. It's they really be doing that. It's hilarious.
Person to get that done.
They don't even tell you they have any experience with children or nothing either. Like, they just be trying to argue against a mother with like 5 kids or some shit and tell her she wrong. Like, bitch, she got like kids of like both genders, and she can tell you from like, it's not even just a anecdotal thing. It's like actual evidence. Like, what evidence do you have? We have evidence from like the beginning of time, like, you know, human civilization. We have this stuff on record. And you just saying all this stuff theoretically with no evidence, and she got actual evidence, which is her own kids.
My claim is that I believe feminism is wrongly interpreted as anti-men when it benefits both men and women.
It's a great claim. I like that claim.
Thank you.
Okay.
That is I'm not gonna say it's a correct claim, but it is a claim that sparks conversation. Like, so she's saying feminism is wrongly interpreted as anti-men when it benefits both men and women. Now she's technically correct, but I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing, because the last prompt that Candace had was about feminism making things easier for men. And when they talk about making things easier for men, they're talking about the negative things that men want, like casual sex. So that might quote unquote benefit men in some small sense, some short-term sense as far as having access to sex. Yeah, how do you define benefit? It's like it really doesn't. Like, if we're talking long term and even short term, it doesn't really benefit either. It just depends on what you're talking about. Like, if women want more access to certain things or whatever, if that's really how you're defining it or whatever. But if you're defining it as, women being equal to men, so which is typically how people are looking at it, and should be treated equally to men, it doesn't really benefit both men and women, because how could it benefit you to basically act as if reality doesn't exist? Men and women aren't the same, and because they aren't the same, they shouldn't be treated the same. They're going to be held to different standards.
So I think that in today's environment, when you look at the messaging that's coming out from self-proclaimed feminists, it's very much an F men can't do anything, women can do bad all by themselves sort of colloquial messaging, which I think is harmful to men and to women. I have seen examples of people that I truly do think are more old school who don't do that. But I think
not to be fair, I do believe that Candace is generally correct, but she did kind of just make an anecdotal fallacy where it's just like, oh, well, from what I've seen, it's kind of what she said. And it's like, well, you need to provide a little bit harder evidence, like show some examples of how this is the case. We can't just go off what you've seen, just to be fair, for trying to do a logical analysis of the argument.
in 2025, we've landed on the side of this. It is, I think, rising to a level of just being anti-men, which is not what I think it was supposed to be astrationally.
Okay. In response to that, I would just like to say, I think that in
We'll see. We probably shouldn't have gave him credit cards, but like, look, the credit industry would disagree. Okay, the majority of consumers are women, so they're making a lot of money off them credit cards.
In all ideologies and beliefs, there is a spectrum, right? And on either side, there's going to be a radical point of view. I do understand how.
So I guess men are benefiting. 19 missed calls on MasterCard.
How it may come across as negative when women say things like, I hate all men, or F men this, F men that. But I'm also, as a woman, not going to fault other women for having that perspective and fear, because unfortunately our greatest predator is men. Our greatest
She might have a
harm does
lazy
come
eye
from
too.
men. And therefore, when women have experienced violence from men, when women have experienced oppression from men, I'm not going to fault them for feeling that way and expressing such. And I think the onus does rely more on men for acknowledging that these issues do exist. It is harming women.
I feel like they be fucking their eye up when they be doing the makeup. I don't even necessarily know if it's a lazy eye, but they eyes, like, one eye be looking smaller, like more clothes and shit. I be like, I feel like when they be doing the mascara and shit, and putting the eyeshadow on and shit, they get that shit in their eye. And then like for the rest of the shit, they squinting because they fucked up their eye. This is why they need to chill with the makeup, man. Like, just I'm not mad at y'all being natural. I'm sorry, I'm off topic myself.
And unfortunately, a lot of men don't listen to women, and they actually would rather listen to other men. While that may seem like negative messaging, if we can get past the idea of, oh, this feels like it's attacking my character, like I feel like feminism is attacking me as a man.
They do be doing them eyelid stickers. Yeah.
Then I think that we can have a much more productive discussion and move forward in making sure that this society is better for everybody. And I do believe that feminism benefits men as well. And I think that's also misunderstood and misinterpreted in that when we hear that, instantly we turn off, we don't want to listen, right? But when we look at historically what feminism does, it's actually trying to bring women at an equal level to men, give them the same opportunities and options as men, and also not receive the same judgment that men do for the same actions. And so I believe that when men are exposed to more female role models, when men are exposed to more feminine, more feminist leaning women, they actually have higher quality of life. They have deeper conversations that they can have with their loved ones.
I'm gonna have to disagree with that. But she also said, this is one of those things, like, Um, this is one of those red pill things. I'm not a red pill nigga. But notice how she said, I feel. She didn't say I think. She's not really providing any evidence for this. She's going all like off emotion. Her entire argument is emotion. Love, hate the Naruto eyeshadow. It really don't. Yeah, it be off. Like, I don't mind eyeshadow, but you can tell some people do it right, some people don't do it right. Like, some people might need a little help. You know, I don't know.
Men that I know in my life are feminists, and it is because they are feminists that we all have a beautiful community and beautiful friendships.
Yeah, so I would actually even expand it to say that not only is feminism hostile to men, but it's also very hostile to women. And I think you saw a lot of examples of that.
Female role models are just the first crush for men. Hey, low key.
Today, where there seems to be a reaction when a woman says children are beautiful.
Honestly, if you have a female role model, I question your masculinity, because it's like it's fine to like admire, you know, another woman, especially when you're a kid. You're gonna, or I said another woman. It's fine to admire a woman, especially when you're like a kid. You're gonna have people that you look up to or whatever. But like a role model, like the idea of a role model is like somebody that you want to be like when you get older. If you're a man and you want to be like a woman, it got to be in some kind of specific context, because you're not supposed to want to be like a woman. Like your role model should be men. Like if you got like a doctor or something that you look up to, and you maybe want to do something similar to what they did one day, right? Like maybe say they maybe made a discovery, like Marie Curie or something, right? You say, oh, I want to get into chemistry. I want to make a discovery like she did or something, right? Or be well known like she was. That's one thing, but that's not even really a role model. You know, like people in your life that are role models are typically going to be of the same gender, because when you get older, you're going to want to emulate what they do. And a young boy shouldn't be having a female necessarily as a role model, because you don't want to emulate a woman when you get older. That's also not attractive to women. They don't want a feminine man. I mean, some of these women do, but most women don't want a feminine man.
It's like, oh my God, how dare you say that? Like having a child, and it's like, why is there this instant reaction?
I guess maybe if she a dyke and she trying to be masculine, then I mean, but that's also kind of like a fake masculinity too. So you don't really want women as your role models. There's nothing wrong with looking up to a woman in some capacity, but they shouldn't be your role models.
Reaction to people that are traditional. And you see that when we have a society which is really kind of being dominated by what I would call like this hyper sexual character, like of the Kim Kardashian prototype of feminism, weighed against the other extreme.
The Kim Kardashian prototype of feminism.
The F men forever. Kim Kardashian is kind of the, when I was saying like, come get everything for free, you know, that sort of a model. And I think both of them reject tradition in a way that there's a little bit of hatred there for women who don't want to climb the ladder and work 45 hours a week for.
Feminism does reject tradition, and tradition benefits both men and women. So it's like, that is one of those things where it's like, you know, kind of, that really calls it into question. That's a good point she made.
A small paycheck and who actually aspire to marriage. They think that there's something intrinsically backwards about that. They think that there's something wrong with women who are wholesome and happy, and they instantly try to problematize that. And I'd say one of the greatest cultural examples of that today was like the feminist attack on Ballerina Farm, which just kind of came out of nowhere. It was so weird. Like, we have an example of every feminist on the cover of everything, and it's like, but no, this woman can't have 10 million followers. She's not allowed to have 10 million followers. We have to take her down. And that, to me, that's
another good point. She's making some good points here.
To me, is the greatest example of what modern feminism has become, because they pretend it's about choice, but in reality, they want every woman to enter the workforce and to pretend that they're happy in the workforce from a 9-to-5 job trying to compete with men. And I think if people are being honest, the overwhelming
honestly, it's not necessarily true. But in action, that does seem to be what they really want. Like a lot of feminists, when they argue, will say that kind of stuff. But that's not necessarily true, because they do claim that they just want women to have the choice. That's what they claim. In action, it usually doesn't end up that way. It usually seems like they want women to choose like one particular avenue. But technically, they say they just want them to have the choice.
Majority of women are doing that because of financial power, not because they're really happy, and that's why they're binge drinking on the weekends. And
okay, I disagree with that. I think that feminism just gives women options, and if you want to be a stay-at-home, like,
see, I told you, this is what they're always going to say. Oh, we want them to have the options.
Wife, and you want to be a trad wife, that's fine. Feminism is not, in my opinion, And I think a lot of other people agree with me. Feminism is not the belief that you can't do those things and we're trying to convince women that they have to work. I believe that feminism is, if you want to work, go do that. Go get that bag, you know? But if you don't and you want to be a stay-at-home wife, then there shouldn't be consequences for doing that. And I think the whole ballerina farm discussion is kind of highlighting some of the consequences. We see a woman who wanted to be a ballerina but gave up that passion and dreamed to be a mother. And I don't think that it's wrong to want both. I think that I think there's value in being a mother. I think there's value.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, because she might even be right? That feminism is wrongly interpreted as anti-man. We could grant her that part of the claim. Maybe feminism isn't intended to be anti-man, even though it functionally ends up being that. Most of the options that they argue for women to have make them miserable. So when you say it benefits both men and women, it's like, to what degree? Like, sure, it might to some capacity, but to what degree? To what degree, I ask?
Value in having a family, right? I work with kids all the time as a swim teacher. I love kids, but at the same time, I don't want to have to choose between kids and my career path or my progress.
Choose, and that's another thing is they just keep rejecting her answering this question 1,000 times. Of course, when you're young and before you have kids, the things that I wanted to do aspirationally has radically transformed. From now that I'm married, it suddenly everything came into focus, and really I understand that family is what it's all about. It's like you have your first kid and you change entirely. Your focus changes, and I do find exactly what you're saying is that even when she herself says this is what I wanted,
Your focus definitely gonna change when you marry a white man.
was not forced to give up, that's what I wanted when it was just me in my life. And I went to Juilliard and I did what I wanted to do. And I danced as a ballerina. And then my husband moved to support me as a ballerina. And then I got pregnant. And when you have a child, your entire world changes instantly in a moment. And it's hard to describe that to someone who doesn't have a child yet, because when I was there, I didn't understand it either. So I actually would have agreed more with you until that moment happens, you don't get it. And so what I'm saying is that to see people constantly try to problematize her life when she's like, I have 8 kids now. It's like, not only do I love kids, I have 8 of them, and I'm cooking and I'm going to school and I'm bringing them with me to Ireland. And the attacks on the trad wife culture, it just shows you that there is fundamentally a hatred for tradition. And I think that hatred is being bred into women. And ultimately, when you find those women at 50 who have chased their careers, it has been my experience, and they don't.
It is. They also just hate, like, this is one of those things where I'm not gonna lie. It seems like a cliche to say, but it seems like it's true. Cause like a lot of women don't seem to like to see other women happy. Like, it's not all women, but a lot of women don't seem to like to see other women happy. It's like they see another woman in a relationship and they just want to hate. They see another woman like living her life with her kids and everything, and they just want to hate. Like, it's one of those things about unhappy people, and maybe because there's more unhappy women nowadays, whatever, because they're choosing not to do that stuff. When they see somebody doing that, basically having what they could have had, and they decided and made bad decisions that caused it to be something that is not attainable for them anymore, they really just, they can't do nothing but hate. It just makes them seethe. It's one of those things. Yeah, they basically like femcells. It's like they see this shit like, yeah, I can't have the hot husband with the ranch life and all the kids and everything, like the traditional dream, right? The traditional American dream, basically. They see that shit and they're like, damn, I can't have that. Oh, let me find something to hate on. They do that shit all the time. It's like when they talk about each other's outfits and how each other look and shit. Like they just be salty. They just jealous. It's jealousy really do drive a lot of that criticism. I don't even think it's just feminism. It's just jealousy.
Don't have family, that they suffer from tremendous unhappiness if they've missed that window of opportunity to start a family.
I mean, I would like to disagree with that point that feminism is hating on the trad wife life. I think there is a misrepresentation of that life that's being fed to people. For example, people like Nara Smith and Ballerina Farm they're social media content creators. That is their job, right? So it's not that they're just a stay-at-home mom. Content creation itself, as I'm sure you're aware, is also a job, right? So they are not actually fully trad wives. They also are working. And on top of that, they are marketing this lifestyle that is not attainable by everybody. It's not feasible. And I think you agree with this too, to be spending 8 hours cooking.
It's not attainable by everybody anymore, especially after you make certain decisions. But I ain't gonna lie. A lot of those women can still probably get that. It's still probably realistic for a lot of them. They just don't want to get their head out of their own ass. They stuck on what they stuck on. They don't want to change nothing, but they want the same results, which is just like, it's not going to happen. It's unrealistic. You got to change something about the way you do things if you actually want to achieve that. But it's still achievable. Like having a husband and kids and maybe even living off the earth, having a farm or something, whatever. Like, there's enough land. Like, a lot of people, you could do that. That's attainable.
Cooking, like, I don't know, chocolate chip cookies from scratch where you've harvested the cocoa yourself. You know what I mean? And it's not feasible in our current economic system, right? And maybe that's...
It is feasible. You just got to work for it.
what people want, and that's great. And I don't think feminism is the one that's telling you you shouldn't want this. I disagree with that strongly. I think feminism is telling you that if you want to pursue that, that's great. That's for you.
I've never met a feminist that didn't find
Like they feel like that shit gotta come overnight. It's never gonna come overnight. You gotta put the work in. Like if you can't cook and you don't know nothing about taking care of no kids, you don't know how to keep a man happy, you're never gonna get that happy ending. You're never gonna get that ending that you're looking for. You gotta put the work in to make those steps, and then you can get there. That's what a lot of those women do.
And that's my point, is that it's this illusion.
Well, you're meeting one now. I don't think
because as soon as I said something traditional, everyone rejected. I said you will get more purpose and joy from raising you get joy from raising a child. And everyone acted like when I said you get joy from raising a child, like I had stabbed them in the chest.
Well,
it's like, guys, shouldn't we just like understand that children are like it's a good thing to inspire
I don't
children?
think any of us here hate kids. I think the point is it's not about, oh, I've mentioned something traditional and this is the reaction that I'm getting from it. It's that it's almost like you're making an assumption that this applies to everyone.
Yeah, they got these modern day unrealistic expectations. Like a lot of all that's feasible. You got to give up some of that shit.
Everybody.
I am making a generalization, and I am saying that if the majority of women did not.
But to be fair, I think Candace even said this earlier. It's like you do have to make generalizations. You can't have a debate without some level of generalizations. Now, whether it's a hasty generalization is one thing, because that's a fallacy. But like, you would have to prove that she's making a hasty generalization and not just making an obvious statement of fact. Like we have records of human history that just basically prove these things. It's not even really like you have to pull up a bunch of evidence to prove it.
Invest time to start a family, women would be miserable. And I think that recognizing that when women start to, like, the biological clock is real, and women start to recognize that they spend so much time trying to climb a ladder and they maybe don't find a partner, and it's harder to find a partner now because, as I said, we have devalued ourselves by giving up sex so freely.
Because women also have a biological clock. Like you can't have kids after a certain point. Men can have kids until they're like old. They might have lower quality of sperm, but they could still have kids. So like women got to make their decision on whether they want the family and what they're willing to do to get that family a lot earlier, or your options are going to go down. And there's going to be less men that are looking from you, especially if they want like, you know, a decent amount of kids, or they're looking for specific things.
I do see that there is an increase in those types of women who are relying on drugs to make them happy, whether they're
but not everybody wants marriage, and not everybody wants a relationship.
I think overwhelmingly, women
not everybody, but the majority of people, like the exception is not the rule. The majority of people want kids in a marriage.
Women do want the safety of a relationship and a happy home. And I think that feminism lies to you and tells you that you don't until it's too late. And that is what I do a lot of work trying to get women to understand.
Yeah, no, and I understand that you're trying
I'm sorry, that's time. I do apologize.
You have people who are coming because they want to create a social media moment, and these are always, I've done so many events, the most frustrating things because nobody's learning. And I also think it's something that women that are young need to come to terms with, or they're going to end up on the other side and be miserable and be popping pills like a lot of women who bought into the illusion of feminism did. So it was frustrating, but also people can see like how many times I just wasn't allowed to speak.
It is important to interrupt conservatives, specifically conservatives like Candace, because once you do that, their fallacies will show themselves.
Today, it felt like
Oh yeah, okay, there we go. Yeah, oh shit. But yeah, the other girl had a better conversation with Jordan Peterson. Yeah, this is the Mexican hobgoblin torta. I bet you her real name is Julianne. When she was talking with Candace, this is because we covered this on the part yesterday. When she was talking to Candace, she said she identifies as all genders. I was like, I bet you fucking do, you fucking hobgoblin. You know, fucking all genders, head ass.
one conservative, 19 cisgender mainstream.
Black girl is cute though. The black girl before her, this girl here, we done with the video, so I can go back a little bit. This girl,
it is important to.
She was talking to Jordan Peterson. You know, she's kind of cute. You know, shout out to the queen here. You know, she didn't do a good job against Candace, but you know, Shit. Jordan Peterson ended up picking her at the end of his to talk to her because they were talking about God and shit. But that feminism shit got her fucked up. You see her name Xena here.
Conservatives like Candace, because once you do that, they're
the one bitch, she said
today it felt
19 genders. She said I identify as all genders. I'm I would scroll back, but I don't feel like you could check the other video. But no, she said I identify as all genders. I was like, all right, bro.
one conservative, 19 cisgender mainstream feminists, and the weird queer person just kind of hanging out. We absolutely.
Yeah, no, and she like, bro, they always got to talk about the fact that they queer, bro. Like, I think Candace asked her like, I assume you're a feminist or whatever. It's like, first of all, no shit, Candace, this is you versus 20 feminists. But then she was like, well, I'm a queer feminist. All right, bitch. We don't care about your queer shit. And then she went right into the queer theory shit. It was just like, see, these fucking homos cannot go 2 seconds without telling you they homos. They can't. Bro, yeah, this is what I'm saying. Like, it's like she got the fucking mohawk with the bun. Nasty. Like, what is this? It's actually, hold up. Is that a mullet too? I can't see the back of it. No, that might be her shirt. I was about to say, it looked like she got the hair hanging in the back like a mullet. The mohawk mullet fucking bun would have been even nastier. But the mohawk bun it's just nasty. It's just nasty. I don't know what she doing. She definitely got the elongated skull. Oh damn, I didn't even notice that. You peeped. Yeah, no, man. I knew immediately when she got up there and she was some kind of lesbian or dyke or something, because like I was like, don't no woman dress like that. Don't no woman even look like that for real. She like almost like a middle-aged man, like a goblin. Ugh, man. Oh man. Yeah, the hobgoblin torta.
Are part of the feminist movement, and I hope that the mainstream gets that one day.
I think that Candace herself is a great example that you can do both.
HJ says she's like an alien. She kind of do, I ain't gonna lie. She got, is that a piercing on her nose? Or is that makeup? Like, what is that in the middle of her head there?
Both, and when
she probably do. She do look like she do construction. She got a big back, don't she?
And you have a society and a culture that encourages women to do what they want, how they want, in a way that is safe.
What was that? That is a piercing. So she got the piercing, like, she not only has the septum nose ring, but then she got the piercing like through the top of her nose, like in between, and like in the middle of her eyes. You see that? Like, that's nasty. Just so I hate piercings, man. Like, sometimes I guess you could say they cute, but I would just rather a girl not have piercings. I'm just like, what possessed you to put that on your face, especially on your face? Like the earrings, you know, it's cool. That's the only acceptable piercing to me is like the earring. Any of that other shit is just, that's extra. I mean, like if she didn't have that, I ain't gonna lie, she kind of cute. But yeah, that has to be painful. That one in the middle, like, I know people say that the one in the septum one isn't too painful, apparently. I don't know how. I think Iki was talking about how important your nose is the other day, like breathing through your nose is and everything the other day. Like, I'm pretty sure it's not healthy to get that shit pierced. I want to look into that a little bit more. I got to get some of them books. But yeah, that has to be painful. Especially that one up top definitely got to be painful. There's no way that's not painful. Why would you do that?
And healthy, you will see that women can do it all, as she said, and be happy. I don't think that you have to choose between having kids.
That's like a sign
and
of a
having
feminist
career.
too.
And I think that is like a fundamentally misleading argument.
I guess I would just say we all agree that sandwiches are good. We just disagree on who should be making them.
That was funny as fuck. I'm not gonna lie. The way Candace ended that was funny as fuck. She said, I gotta hear that one more time.
Misleading argument.
I guess I would just say we all agree that sandwiches are good. We just disagree on who should be making them.
I guess we can all agree that sandwiches are good. We just disagree on who should be making them. That was funny. That was fucking hilarious. She W Candace for that one. Like, that was fucking hilarious. All right, so she had to get her little shit off at the end. I give her that. But she let them go off topic way too much. If she had stuck and stayed, made them stay on topic more, that would have been more productive. But she just let them veer off a topic like every single time. The only time I would actually say that they were on topic was like the last prompt, like when they argued the other girl's prompt, because I feel like they all came there with their own things they wanted to argue about. But like when she chose somebody was the only time they actually had a prompt of their own to talk about. And then they actually stayed on topic because Candace knows how to stay on topic. But she let them take her off topic like way too much. It's crazy. But yeah. We've come to the end of another logical analysis. I'm trying to get better at these, trying to do more of these. Send me something. Y'all know how to contact me. She's yeah. I mean, they call them sex workers. Yeah. OnlyFans and strippers. She was definitely a sex worker. Yeah, they got catty a couple times in there. That one was fun to watch though. Like, it was harder to do a logical analysis on that one because they were all off topic, and feminism is just one of those things, especially when it's women arguing about it, that just like it gets real catty and they don't make very good arguments. It's real emotional argumentation. There's a lot of appeals to emotion. Like if I had focused on how many appeals to emotion there were, I probably would have been here all day. But yeah, like if y'all have any suggestions or debates or anything like that, y'all would like me to do a logical analysis of, I want to do more of these. I'm normally on here gaming, so I might even do a little gaming stream later. We'll see. Playing through Devil May Cry, but that the emulation be moving kind of slow sometimes. It be getting on my fucking nerves, so I might just start playing something else. But yeah, we're gonna wrap up here. So thank you, beautiful people, for joining me. Shout out Alchemist and a manga fan for engaging in the chat. Love y'all for that. Made it a little easier, not talking to myself as much. All right. But y'all have a beautiful afternoon. I will post if I do happen to go live again later tonight. Until then, I bid you adieu.